Chapter 2655. This breakthrough took 10 days and in the end Qinlu broke through to the Monarch realm, becoming the fourth person to break through to the Progenitor realm in the Three Monarchs spacetime. Congratulations on breaking through to the Monarch realm. Songbai bowed deeply. He had finally broken through, so he had to do what needed to be done. Qinlu breaking through to the Monarch realm was a big deal, and many powers from the Six Direction Society congratulated him. They treated Qinlu with caution, as this person was very murderous and was rarely seen on the battlefield. The first thing Qinlu did after breaking through was to meet with Luo Jun. Qinlu was equivalent to a disciple of one of the three monarchs, and he had followed them for a period of time. They were familiar with each other, so there was no need for formalities. Luo Jun treated Qinlu with more caution, as Qinlu was qualified to be looked upon highly. Now that Mu Jun had disappeared, Luo Jun had to rely on Qinlu to work with him in the Three Monarchs spacetime. You want to be the Horizon Prefecture Lord? Luo Jun was shocked as he hadn't expected Qinlu to make such a request. Qinlu said, the spies are rampant and Mu Jun's disappearance might be related to the spies. My lord, there's something I've been thinking about for a long time and I want to tell you now. He paused and stared at Luo Jun. Luo Ho might have been a spy for a long time. Luo Jun's gaze turned cold and he silently looked outside the rainbow wall. Qinlu continued, I know that you care about Luo Ho, or you wouldn't have sent him to the hyperspace as a hostage. But have you thought about the deep grudge between Luo Ho, Luo Zong and the Mu family? Using him to lure out Mu Jun is completely possible. The Eternals have been developing spies for so many years, and they'll also think that the one behind Mu Jun's disappearance must be an extreme powerhouse. The Yu family's attack on Mu Jun is just a guess. There's something wrong with the person who sold the information to you. This could all be a trap set by the Eternals to sow discord between us. The only thing I can think of is a spy and only a spy. Luo Jun remained silent and didn't say anything. Qinlu said solemnly, I hope that you'll give me a chance to search for the spy and rescue Mu Jun. In my heart you, Mu Jun and Taishu are all masters and I don't want anything to happen to Mu Jun. Even if she dies, her corpse. Luo Jun was silent for a long time and he had a complicated look in his eyes. The prefecture master of the Heavenly Mirror Prefecture has always been Little Mu. Now that she has gone missing, the position of prefecture master cannot be left vacant. From today onwards, you are the prefecture master of the Heavenly Mirror Prefecture. Thank you, sir. Qinlu bowed. Luo Jun looked at Qinlu. I hope you'll keep your word. Search for the spies and find Xiao Mu's whereabouts. Even if it's a corpse, you have to bring it back for me. Qin Li's gaze was resolute. From today onwards, my greatest mission is to eliminate all spies in spacetime. I will definitely find Mu Jun. Luo Jun nodded. No one knows whether or not the person who sold the information set this up, but Luo Ho did indeed appear in the Zio realm. The Yu clan also has a reason to attack Xiao Mu, so this guess will not be dismissed. That's why I want to become the Manor Lord of the Heavenly Mirror Manor. That Xianxia was sent by Yu Fong to my Three Monarchs universe. I have to keep an eye on what this person knows and how to investigate, Qinlu said. Luo Jun had wanted to remind him of this point, but since Qinlu had mentioned it, he said, Xianxia is very good at finding spies and he's familiar with Luo Ho in the Six Paths training hall. After he came to our spacetime, I sent Songbai to keep an eye on him. I'll leave him to you now. I know, Qinlu replied. After leaving the rainbow wall, Qinlu headed towards Lu Yin's courtyard. The Three Monarchs universe did not require him to act for the time being. Luo Jun, Xingjuan, Xia Shenji and Elder Chan were working together to stabilize the boundary. Luo Jun would rather have another extreme powerhouse oversee the Three Monarchs universe. When he arrived outside Lu Yin's courtyard, Qinlu walked out of the void, his monarch's aura suppressing everyone. Songbai was the first to sense it and hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Lord Qinlu. Both inside and outside the courtyard, all the cultivators from the Three Monarchs universe bowed. Inside the courtyard, Guan Lao de Yu Pai and Suji all bowed in unison to show their respect for this extreme powerhouse. Lu Yin walked out and looked up at Qinlu in the sky. His eyes flashed as he slowly bowed. Greetings, Senior Qinlu. Qinlu looked down at Lu Yin from above. If he could, he would have killed this person with a single palm strike. This person had planted a power control in his body, and that mysterious extreme powerhouse had also controlled him. Even though he had broken through to the Monarch realm, he still could not break free. It seemed impressive, but he was actually this person's pawn, which made him feel stifled. If he could, he wanted to attack, but the power in his body made it difficult for him to do so. Even if he did attack, he might not be able to kill this person. Although this person was not an extreme powerhouse, he had the strength to fight against one. This person was terrifying. "You're Xianxia?" Qianlu asked. "Yes," Lu Yin replied. "I'm already the head of the Three Monarchs Universe Sky Mirror Hall, and I'd like to invite you to temporarily join the Three Monarchs Universe Sky Mirror Hall. You'll take on the role of acting hall master and help us search for spies. Are you willing?" Qianlu asked. Songbai was shocked, as she had not expected Qianlu to value Lu Yin so much. Lu Yin was placed in a difficult position. "Senior, this junior is the acting hall master of the Void Gods Universe Sky Mirror Hall." Qianlu explained, "The Sky Mirror Hall does not differentiate between the two. Since you are the acting hall master of the Void Gods Universe Sky Mirror Hall, you can also be the acting hall master of the Three Monarchs Universe Sky Mirror Hall." Lu Yin no longer hesitated and he bowed. "This junior understands. Thank you for your kindness, senior." Qianlu continued, "I know that you specialize in searching for spies, so I'll give you the authority to do so. From now on, you can go anywhere in the Three Monarchs universe without any reservations. This is the authority that I, Qianlu, am giving you. You only need to do one thing, and that is to find spies for me and not let a single one escape." Songbai was shocked. Lord Qianlu thought too highly of this Xianxia. Giving him such great authority was equivalent to giving Xianxia a transcendent status in the Three Monarchs universe. How could this be? How long had Xianxia been in this universe? He did not seem to have done anything, but he was still so transcendent. Could this be the result of his 2 visits to Lord Qianlu? Lu Yin lowered his head and his lips curled up. "This junior understands. Thank you, senior." This was what Lu Yin wanted. The Three Monarchs universe was his first step, and Qianlu had built the bridge for this first step. From now on, Lu Yin was going to have some fun with the Six Direction gang. With Qin Li's support, Lu Yin could go wherever he wanted. The first place he wanted to go was the stone tower that recorded the true events of the Three Monarchs universes. No spacetime would ignore history. The Fifth Mainland had experienced a long period of time, and its history had been cut off several times. Even so, there were still people searching for it, wanting to connect it to the past. Lu Yin also wanted to know the history of the Fifth Mainland, as well as the history of the entire Genesis space. The Three Monarchs universe had a special place to record history, and it was the Stone Tower. This place recorded the true history of the Three Monarchs universes, and aside from a few people, no one else was allowed to enter. Contents: up until now, there were only 7 names on the list. The Three Monarchs, Qianlu, Luozong, the person who recorded the history, and the person who guarded the Stone Tower. Aside from them, no one else could enter. Lu Yin had wanted to go before, but Songbai had stopped him and told him that it was impossible. Now he was going to enter the Stone Tower. The Stone Tower was not spectacular, and it was just an ordinary tower. However, the guard was a half-martial monarch from the Mohe courtyard. There were 15 half-martial monarchs in the Mohe courtyard, and these experts had more or less had other identities when they joined the Mohe courtyard. For example, the old woman in front of Lu Yin was the person who was responsible for guarding the Stone Tower. Even though she was still a member of the Mohe courtyard, she did not need to live there. Of course, the Stone Tower was not far from the Mohe courtyard, and they could reach it in a single step. The Mohe courtyard was not far from the various important places in the imperial domain, and it could be protected there. "Leave." The old woman didn't even look at him as she ordered him to leave. Lu Yin stood in front of her and looked at the Stone Tower with his hands behind his back. "You should leave. I'm the acting manor head of the Horizon Manor, and I naturally need to look for information when searching for a spy. This Stone Tower's information is extremely important, and it cannot be obstructed." The old woman ignored him. "Leave." Lu Yin looked at Songbai. Songbai was in a difficult position. If not for Qin Li's authority, he would not have allowed Lu Yin to come here. Now, however, he did not know what to do. The Stone Tower's name list had been determined by the 3 sovereigns, and now, another person had been added. The previous Qianlu naturally did not have the qualifications, but now, Songbai did not know. Lu Yin frowned and took out the Cloud Connect stone to contact Qianlu. At the same time, he said indifferently, "You're a spy sent by Lord Luo to assist me in my investigation, so it's your responsibility to let me pass unimpeded. Senior Qinlu also allowed me to pass through the 3 sovereign spacetimes in front of you. If you can't do anything in the first place that I've come to, then you won't be of much use from now on. Song Bai's heart sank and he hurried forward to the old woman. This is the acting manor head of Xianxia. Manor head Qinlu personally ordered him to pass through the 3 sovereign spacetimes unimpeded. Move aside so that he can enter the stone tower. The old woman glanced at Song Bai. Guarding the stone tower is my responsibility, not yours. Aside from the people on the list, no one else is allowed to enter. Song Bai gritted his teeth and looked back. Lu Yin looked back at him with interest. Song Bai's face paled. How could this be his turn? He did not want to offend Xianxia, but he did not have the ability to make this old woman let him pass. The Cloud Connect stone connected and Qin Li's image appeared. When they saw Qin Lu, Song Bai and the old woman bowed. Greetings, Lord Qin Lu. What is it? Qin Lu looked at Lu Yin calmly. Lu Yin replied, this junior wants to enter the stone tower to investigate some matters, but I can't. Qin Lu replied, I already said that you can go anywhere in the 3 sovereign spacetimes. Song Bai, this is your responsibility. Song Bai panicked. Yes, this subordinate understands. This will not happen again. Qin Lu grunted and looked at the old woman. Add his name to the list. I'll talk to Lord Luo. The old woman quickly bowed. Yes. Lu Yin put away the Cloud Connect stone and entered the stone tower step by step. Song Bai was also ordered to wait outside. There was no one else in the stone tower, and even the old woman herself had been ordered not to enter. At this moment, both Song Bai and the old woman were extremely wary of Lu Yin. This person could act unbridled in the 3 sovereign spacetimes. Chapter 2656. Lu Yin had naturally entered the stone tower to investigate Gu Yu. Outside he couldn't ask anyone else about Gu Yu as that would expose him. He could only investigate on his own. Fortunately, the stone building is worthy of its reputation. It records a lot of history in the 3 monarchs universe, including Gu Yu's affairs. Half a day later, Lu Yin stood at the top of the stone tower and looked outside, his eyes filled with a bone-chilling coldness. The situation was more or less as he had guessed. Lord Wu had also mentioned a few things. Gu Yu had entered the 3 monarch spacetime continuum through the spatial link between Xinwu continent and the 3 monarch spacetime continuum. After traveling for 100 years he had made many good friends, and one of them was a friend who had gone through life and death situations with him. His name was Bo and people called him Elder Bo. Gu Yu trusted this person the most, but there was also a problem with this person. This person had the intention of getting close to Gu Yu because Gu Yu did not cultivate the sovereign king Qi. He did not dare to use his power, but his body was abnormally strong. There was clearly something wrong with having the physical strength of a peak emissary without cultivation. The old man found out that Gu Yu came from a parallel universe, and at the same time, Gu Yu also found out that the old man was actually a member of the explorer team. The so-called exploration is a force specially used by the 3 monarchs universe to experiment and search for parallel universes. The people inside capture subhumans for fun. Once they find a suitable parallel universe to live in and report it to the 3 monarchs, they will get a lot of rewards, and the parallel universe that is discovered will end very miserably. Gu Yu had hurriedly returned to the 5th mainland because he had discovered that this elder was a realm explorer. However, he had still been pursued by Elder Gu Yu and a group of other realm explorers. Although he had managed to escape to the 5th mainland, he had been on the verge of death. In order to prevent the 3 sovereigns from entering the 5th mainland, Gu Yu had used up the last of his strength to lay down a source box array that blocked the space-time connection. He had left behind the Tower of Resonating Light before finally dying. The reason why this incident could be recorded was because it was related to a parallel universe. Any incident related to a parallel universe had to be recorded in the stone building. It would have been fine if that was all there was to it, as it was normal for different spacetime universes to have different ways of interacting with one another. What Lu Yin was concerned about was that the elder had actually enslaved a descendant of the Gu Yu clan. Gu Yu had roamed this spacetime for 100 years. Not only had he made friends, but he had also found a lover and descendants. When he had fled back to the 5th mainland, he had been in too much of a hurry, so he hadn't been able to take them with him. Furthermore, after returning to the 5th mainland to set up a source box array, he had died. He was powerless to protect his descendants. Because of Gu Yu's escape, Elder Bo enslaved Guyu's descendants out of anger. He made them slaves for the rest of their lives in the exploration world. Generation after generation they continued to multiply, but they continued to be slaves to vent his anger. Lu Yin looked outside and soon walked out of the stone tower. Over the next few days, Songbai brought Lu Yin around the imperial domain, going to places that normal people could not enter. On the 5th day Guan Lao came looking for Lu Yin. Acting prefecture lord, Qingfen has recruited a new name, Bo. Lu Yin was surprised. Uncle? What Bo? Is it a name? Behind him, Songbai found the name familiar. He seemed to have heard of it somewhere before. Guan Lao said, yes, and it's someone from the Three Monarchs universe. According to Qingfen, this person met him once at the cliff. He told Uncle the message he needed to deliver through singing. This person is the spy. I remember now, Uncle Explorer. Songbai was shocked. Lu Yin and Guan Lao looked at him. You know him? Songbai nodded. He's a scout. I never thought that he would be a spy. How unexpected. Since you know each other, let's go together, Lu Yin said before stepping forward to explore the realm. The scout realm was located in the Upper King's starfield and there were many members there. Most of them were experts and this Bo could be considered a top-notch expert second only to a half-monarch. After all, he was from the same generation as Guyu. He was even older than Guyu. Today was the decennial meeting of the scout realm and everyone had to report their findings. I've taken the risk of tearing through the void and going to 7 parallel universes over the past 10 years. It was very unlucky and there were no humans in any of them. Most of them didn't even have any intelligent life forms. I did find a parallel universe with intelligent life forms, but I almost died. There was a monster there that ate the stars. It was terrifying. I went to 3 parallel universes. I went to 2. Everyone was discussing this. Why isn't Uncle Explorer here yet? Uncle Explorer has never been late for a meeting like this. I heard that there was some movement there so he might have gone. Are you talking about the spatial tunnel that Guyu escaped through? Sure. Guyu's name is Tebu. At this moment, an old man appeared at the head of the table with a smile on his face. It was Uncle Explorer, and his seniority in the Scout Realm was second only to the Scout Realm Protector. The Scout Realm Protector was a half-monarch who was currently residing in Mohe Courtyard, so Uncle Explorer was actually in charge of the Scout Realm. Everyone hurriedly retracted their auras and sat down. Everyone, you've had a good chat. Have you gained anything over the past 10 years? Uncle Explorer asked. Everyone reported what they had gained. Uncle Explorer was in a good mood and slowly sipped his tea, occasionally giving a few comments. The atmosphere was harmonious. Everyone has worked hard over the past 10 years. Going to parallel universes is very dangerous and we've lost 26 of our companions. However, everyone should know that searching for parallel universes is an important matter. If we find one that satisfies Lord Luo and the others, it'll be enough for us 3 monarchs to leap through time and space, and it'll also allow everyone to leap through time and space. I hope everyone will take care of themselves, Uncle Explorer said. Everyone hurriedly agreed. Apart from searching for parallel universes, you should also travel more. Perhaps you'll discover people from other parallel universes such as Guyu. Everyone was shocked. Guyu's name had always been taboo for Uncle Explorer, so why was he mentioning it now? And he seemed to be in a good mood. Similarly, one of the servants who was serving tea paused for a moment, but only for a moment. Then he continued to serve them. Uncle Explorer smiled faintly and looked at everyone. If I hadn't traveled, how would I have discovered Guyu? He then looked at the servant serving tea. Come here. The servant's heart trembled and he carefully walked behind Uncle Explorer with his head lowered, not daring to raise it. Uncle Explorer said indifferently, everyone should know that he's a descendant of Guyu and he'll be a slave for life. This is an example. Anyone who dares to escape after discovering someone from a parallel universe will end up like him. He then looked at the servant. Let me ask you, do you hate Guyu? The servant hurriedly knelt. Yes, sir. How much do you hate him? I wish I could eat his flesh and crush his bones. Ha! How many generations of Guyu's descendants are you? 31st. Uncle Explorer sighed. It's already the 31st generation. Has so much time passed? Everyone quietly waited for Uncle Explorer to speak, not daring to interrupt. Do you really hate Guyu? Old Man Bo asked again. The servant's gaze was fierce. Yes, I hate him for abandoning us and running away alone. I hate him for offending you, sir. I hate him for only caring about his homeland. Not only me but my entire clan hates him. Uncle Explorer laughed again. 31st generation. 31st generation of Gu Yu's descendants. Of the 245 generations, you are the smartest. Only you have the ability to hide your own descendant. The servant's expression changed drastically, and he looked at Uncle Explorer in disbelief. The others also looked at the servant in shock. Hide him? This person was actually able to hide his own descendant? Uncle Explorer waved his hand, and a female servant entered with a baby in her arms. When the servant saw the baby, he was overwhelmed with shock. His entire body felt weak. He had actually been exposed. He had done everything he could to give birth to a son and then hide him, all so that his descendant would no longer be a servant. Of course, on the surface he definitely had a son who was a slave, but in secret he could hide this son. He had actually been exposed. The baby was carried to Uncle Explorer, who took it and looked at the sleeping baby. He's very cute, but it's a pity that he's Gu Yu's descendant. How do you think I should deal with him? The servant's eyes flickered, but he didn't dare to say a word. He didn't even dare to move. He just stared at the baby in Uncle Explorer's arms, his face deathly pale. The others weren't surprised. They had seen too many demi-humans and had long since lost their compassion. You hid him so that he could live like a normal person and no longer be a slave. Perhaps you also have the intention of taking revenge in the future, Uncle Explorer said slowly. The servant's fingers twitched and he looked at Uncle Explorer in horror. I wouldn't dare. I've never thought of taking revenge. Even if I wanted to, I would look for Gu Yu. I wouldn't dare to disturb you, sir. Uncle Explorer sneered. I've seen every generation of Gu Yu's descendants, including you. There are a total of 31 generations. I once said to Gu Yu that if he dared to escape, I would make his descendants slaves for the rest of their lives. Since I said it, I will do it. The servant's face was deathly pale as he knelt on the ground. There was no point in saying anything now, so he could only wait for his punishment. However, there was nothing worth doing. He had lived long enough, and at worst he would just die. However, Uncle Explorer wouldn't let him die so easily. He wanted to torture Gu Yu's descendants and make them slaves. If they died, there would be nothing left. I'll give you a chance. You can make your son a slave again, Uncle Explorer suddenly said. The servant was shocked and looked at Uncle Explorer in confusion. The others were also shocked, but some of them didn't. They seemed to know something. Uncle Explorer said, You might be able to see Gu Yu soon as long as he doesn't die. The servant stared blankly at Uncle Explorer. Uncle Explorer sneered, If you see him, tell him all of your resentment over the years. I'd like to see his expression. With that, he casually tossed the infant away. The servant was shocked and tried to catch him, but he didn't have any cultivation and was just an ordinary person. The others didn't catch him either, allowing him to fall to the ground. Suddenly, a figure walked out of the void and caught the infant. Uncle Explorer raised his brows and looked over in displeasure. Someone shouted, Who is it? How dare you be so impudent in the Explorer realm? Everyone looked outside. You dare bully an infant? You really are a bunch of animals. Lu Yin looked up at the crowd. He was the one who had caught the infant. How dare you, the explorers shouted. Uncle Explorer narrowed his eyes and looked at Lu Yin, but he didn't say anything. Behind Lu Yin, Guan Lao De, Yu Pai, Suji and Songbai walked out. When they saw Songbai, everyone was shocked and hurriedly bowed. Uncle Explorer stood up as well. Greetings, Lord Songbai. Lu Yin carried the infant and walked over to the servant. Under the servant's stunned gaze, Lu Yin handed the infant over. This is your child, right? The servant took the infant and gulped, his expression returning to normal. He looked as if he had just been fished out of water. Thank you. Chapter 2657. Songbai did not say anything, so they did not dare to stand up. Lu Yin stood in front of the servant and was very close to the elder. He raised a hand and placed it on the elder's back. The elder instinctively retreated, but Lu Yin's palm pressed down on him. The elder felt a sharp pain in his back as if his bones had been shattered. He was furious and wanted to attack, but Lu Yin used his void god's power to suppress him and throw him outside. Bring him back. The elder crashed to the ground and endured the pain as he looked at Lu Yin. Who are you? What do you want? Guan Lao De grabbed him. You're just a spy. Come with me. The elder was confused. Spy. He looked at Songbei. Sir, what happened? There must be a misunderstanding. I'm not a spy, sir. Songbei frowned. He had only followed along, but there was no room for him to interfere. Lu Yin stood where the elder had been and looked at the confused gazes of the explorers. He said coldly, "No one is allowed to leave. Once uncle's crimes have been investigated, we'll screen you one by one. Guan to stay here and keep an eye on them. There must be more spies among them." Sir, we're all explorers. How could there be spies? Someone grew uneasy. Guan to casually sent the person flying, causing him to crash to the ground and spit out a mouthful of blood. This is the Horizon Manor's business. How dare you quibble? Lu Yin's gaze landed on the servant. This person can leave. He's just a normal person. He then took a step forward and left, looking for an opportunity to release Gu Yu's descendant. The elder's capture had been Lu Yin's own selfish motive, as it could be considered to be revenge for Gu Yu. However, he had not expected that many people would plead on his behalf, especially the guardian of the realm explorer Red Half Moon, who lived in Moh Courtyard. Half Moon was the guardian of the realm explorer, and even though he lived in Moh Courtyard, he still cared about the explorer's affairs. When the elder had been captured, he had immediately found out and had come looking for Lu Yin, but he had been stopped by Songbei. No matter what he said, Songbei had refused to let him see Lu Yin. Lu Yin had no interest in meeting him either. He was just a half-martial lord. This person had a good relationship with Moh Courtyard, but since he couldn't meet Lu Yin on his own, he wanted to join forces with the other demigod monarchs to force an audience with Lu Yin. They wanted Lu Yin to hand over evidence that Elder Bo was a spy. However, he was suppressed by Old Greenskin. Old Greenskin's relationship with the others in the Moh Courtyard was average, but his cultivation level was high. Now that Qinlu had broken through to the extreme realm and reached the heavens in a single step, the Moh Courtyard's courtyard master was now known as Old Greenskin. No one dared to offend him. Half Moon Red was the same. Aside from Red Half Moon, Explorer had also contacted the Mu clan, hoping that they could help. Granny Mu had told Lu Yin about this, but he didn't pay it any mind. Until Qinlu came looking for him personally. "Don't tell me that you're going to ask about the elder's matters as well." Lu Yin was rather surprised. A mere elder who wasn't even a demigod, why would so many people care about him? Qinlu asked, "Is there any evidence to confirm that he's a spy?" "So what if I don't?" Qinlu replied, "No, he might be released soon. This is Lord Luo's intention." Lu Yin was shocked. Why would Lord Luo ask about this elder? Qinlu shook his head. "I'm not sure either, but I didn't ask too much. I was afraid that Lord Luo would be suspicious. After all, I've been taking care of you too well. You should ask the elder yourself." Not long after, Lu Yin met with the elder. The elder had been beaten up quite badly by Yu Pai, and Lu Yin had no intention of holding back. When the elder saw Lu Yin, his gaze turned fierce. "I'm not a spy. Are you trying to frame me? That's impossible. Why are you targeting me?" Lu Yin walked up to the elder. "You're a spy." "I'm not." The elder retorted. Lu Yin looked at him calmly. "Then you'll have to ask Qingfen. He was the one who said that you were a spy." The elder's eyes went wide. "That Qingfen from the Void God dimension? Don't tell me you've never seen him before," Lu Yin said coldly. The elder thought about it. "I've seen him once. When I went to the Void God dimension, I specially went to the cliff to listen to the song that even the Star Lords were interested in." "What a joke. It doesn't make sense for a ruthless person like you to listen to his song. Qingfen said that he passed the information to you through his song, and then you spread it out. Tell me, who did you pass it to?" Lu Yin questioned. The elder was furious. "I didn't. I'm not a spy. Where's Qingfen? I want to confront him. I'm not a spy." "Qingfen himself is a spy, so he has no reason to frame you. Strictly speaking, if you're not a spy, then he's never even seen you. Why would he frame you?" Lu Yin retorted. The elder was stunned. He didn't know why Qingfen had framed him. Had the two crossed paths before? They hadn't. He suddenly stared at Lu Yin. "Someone told Qingfen to frame me." "Who?" Lu Yin asked. The elder was at a loss. Who? He didn't know either. Lu Yin didn't say anything and just watched the elder think. No matter how hard the elder racked his brains, he couldn't figure out what had happened. "The outside world is paying a lot of attention to you." Lu Yin changed the topic. The elder's eyes lit up. I'm definitely not a spy. You'd better let me go or Lord Luo won't let you off. Lu Yin laughed. The Heaven's Reflection Manor is under the orders of the entire Six Direction Society. Although Lord Luo is the master of the Three Sovereigns spacetime, he wouldn't go against the will of the entire Six Direction Society. I even captured Qingfen. Didn't you hear? Even Lotus Reverend's disciple couldn't take him away. The elder stared blankly at Lu Yin. He finally remembered that Qingfen's capture had shaken the entire Six Direction Society because of this person. This person had even dared to provoke Lotus Reverend's disciple, let alone the elder. Xianxia, I'm really not a spy. I swear I'm definitely not one. The elder's attitude softened as he couldn't go against someone who didn't even care about Lotus Reverend's disciple. Lu Yin nodded. That's the right attitude. Don't worry, if you're not a spy, I'll definitely investigate it for you. I'm here to capture a spy, not to offend anyone. The elder heaved a sigh of relief. Yes, that's right. I'm not a spy really. But the events outside make me suspect that the Eternals are involved. You were just captured but a bunch of people came to save you. That doesn't make sense. After all, you're not even a demigod, so why? Lu Yin questioned. The elder was stunned. Someone had saved him, so he was connected to a spy. This has something to do with a spy? Lu Yin looked at Yu Pai. Yu Pai understood and explained. According to our experience, the more important a spy is, the more benefits they'll have in the Six Direction Society. Once something happens, they'll be able to save more people. For example, Qingfen was rescued by Lotus Reverend's disciple, and your situation is similar. Half Moon Red's appearance is normal, but the Mu clan and even Lord Luo's appearance is too abnormal. We're not suspecting the Mu clan and Lord Luo, but you alone shouldn't be implicated in such great benefits and even Lord Luo's involvement. This is abnormal, and the more abnormal it is, the more likely it's a trap set up by the Eternals. The elder hurriedly explained. Lord Luo's appearance has something to do with Gu Yu and that primordial space. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. What do you mean? The elder hesitated. Lu Yin explained. If you don't tell us, then we'll suspect that this is a trap set up by the Eternals. Their goal is to have you implicate the interests of various parties so that even if something happens, there'll be someone to save you. This will make things difficult for our Heaven's Examiner Manor, and it'll take us an indeterminate amount of time to investigate. Perhaps it'll take a long time, or perhaps it'll be too suspicious. Regardless of whether it was the Astral Tree Society or the Six Direction Society, the rule regarding spies was always suspicious. The elder had no choice but to grit his teeth. There's a passage in the Three Sovereigns spacetime that connects to the primordial space. We didn't know about it back then until someone called Gu Yu arrived. The elder explained Gu Yu's situation, and it was the same as what Lu Yin had seen. What does this have to do with Lord Luo's appearance? Lu Yin did not understand. The elder looked up. That passage is about to open. This sentence shocked Lu Yin, and his first reaction was that something had happened on Shenwu continent. After the elder's explanation, Lu Yin realized that the opening of the passage had nothing to do with Shenwu continent. It had to be opened in this spacetime. Gu Yu has been on the run for so long. If he's going to that spacetime, why didn't he open it earlier? Why wait until now? Lu Yin asked. The elder replied, Lord Luo has tried before, especially 1,000 years ago when the god of Forgotten Ruins left. The three sovereigns went all out to try to open the passage, but they still failed. I don't know why they were able to open it this time. My orders were to investigate the situation in that spacetime based on what I knew about Gu Yu after the passage opened. Lu Yin finally understood. It was no wonder why Lord Luo had paid so much attention to this person. Lord Luo needed this person to investigate the Fifth Mainland, as he had more or less learned about the situation through Gu Yu. However, this information was definitely very limited, and Lord Luo did not need this person. It all depended on whether or not this person was a spy. In order to survive, the elder had begged Lu Yin to prove his innocence. He had answered all of Lu Yin's questions, including the location of the two spacetime passages in the Three Sovereigns spacetime. This location was not even recorded in the Stone Tower's records. After knowing the location, Lu Yin immediately went to investigate. He wanted to see how the Three Sovereigns spacetime had managed to open the passage. A few days later, Lu Yin returned. He had failed as he could not get close to that location. There was a dense sovereign aura there, and it was either Lord Luo or a Star Lord. Lu Yin was not confident that he would not be discovered if he went in. This was especially true for Lord Luo, who was unfathomable and had legendary experiences. He was definitely not as simple as he seemed on the surface. Qinlu did not know how powerful he was, but Lu Yin did. Lu Yin was rather fearful of this person. He could not go in, so the only way was Qinlu. Lu Yin contacted Qinlu and asked if he knew the location of the passage. That's the passage that connects to the primordial space. Xianxia came through that passage. We didn't know that it was connected to the primordial space until Xianxia came, Qinlu answered. Lu Yin said indifferently, "Go take a look at that passage. I want to know the details." Qinlu did not understand. "You want to know the situation there? That place?" Suddenly he stopped talking and stared at Lu Yin on the screen. "You're from the primordial space?" Lu Yin knew that Qinlu would definitely be able to guess his identity if he did this, but it did not matter. So what if he did? As long as Qinlu did not want to die, he would not betray him. "Go take a look. I want to know the details. The more details, the better." "Thank you. Muzu AA. Book Friend 576513550 Brothers Tip. I'll give it to you, thank you." Chapter 2658. Qinlu looked at the Cloudflow stone, speechless for a long time. Everyone had underestimated the primordial space. They had thought that they were working together with Xianxia to scheme against the primordial space, but the primordial space had already sent people to the Sixth Direction Guild. What was Xianxia's status in the origin space? He had been in the Six Paths Association for so long, had visited the Six Paths training grounds, joined the Void God universe and captured so many spies. What was he trying to do? Wait, Mu Jun. Qinlu remembered Mu Jun's disappearance. At that time this person seemed to be in the Three Sovereigns universe. If Xianxia was just Xianxia, he wouldn't have suspected anything. But now he couldn't help but suspect that this person was related to Mu Jun's disappearance. In other words, Mu Jun's disappearance was most likely related to the primordial space. Then was it related to the Yu family? Well, is there? He was at a loss. Lu Yin stood in the courtyard, calmly looking into the distance. If he could, he would not have let Qinlu guess his relationship with the origin space so early. However, something had happened to the passageway. Since Lord Luo had the confidence to open the passageway, he would not speak without thinking. This was the most important thing. Nothing could happen to the passage. Otherwise, when the Fifth Mainland opened a portal to the Three Monarchs spacetime and faced the Three Monarchs spacetime and the starry sky of trees, they would be attacked from both sides. This was something the Fifth Mainland could not bear, especially when the Eternals were still in the Three Monarchs spacetime. If the Three Monarchs spacetime could not hold on, the Fifth Mainland would also be in trouble. He did not want to be restrained by the Three Monarchs. For this reason, it was acceptable to take the risk of letting Qinlu guess his identity. Unless this person wanted to die or had the confidence to undo the evil aura and the Death God's seal, he would never betray him. Lu Yin thought about it for a long time, but he did not want to leave his fate to speculation. He wanted to be prepared for the moment that Qinlu betrayed him. It wasn't that no one in the Six Directions sect could dispel the evil aura. A Grand Empyrean could definitely do it. It all depended on whether Qinlu would fight to the death. No scheme could ever be perfect. Lu Yin had just made use of Qinlu and now his identity might be exposed. In the universe, all things had their weaknesses and no one would ever have a smooth sailing. This was the law of the universe. Qinlu had just broken through to the peak realm and enjoyed the same status as the Three Sovereigns. He was worshipped by countless people in the Three Sovereigns spacetimes and was even congratulated by the Six Paths Society's experts. No matter what, he wouldn't risk giving up on all of this. At least not for now. He did not care about the Three Monarchs universe. Otherwise he would not have joined Freedom Palace. Mu Jun's disappearance and the battle between the Three Monarchs universe and the primordial space had nothing to do with him. He just wanted to regain his freedom. Both Lu Yin and Qinlu were thinking. The next day Qinlu appeared in the passageway. Here he saw Xianxia. Xianxia had not expected Qinlu to come. "What are you doing here?" Qinlu was also puzzled. "Senior, shouldn't you be defending the Eternals at the Rainbow Wall? Why is it here?" Xianxia said, "This is my business and Lord Luo knows about it. Why are you here?" Qinlu casually replied, "Just passing by." Xianxia frowned and stared at Qinlu. Qinlu left very quickly. Xianxia quickly contacted Luo Jun and informed him of this matter. Luo Jun told Xianxia not to worry about it and that he would ask Qianlu. Qianlu received a call from Luo Jun and said, "Uncle told me about opening the passageway, so I came to verify it. This passageway is of great importance, so I can't tell outsiders like Xianxia." Luo Jun praised, "Not bad. It's better to be cautious. Does Xianxia know about this passage?" Qianlu said, he knew there was a passage, but he didn't know that the passage was connected to the primordial space. That person was quite cautious. "Don't let him know, but get rid of that uncle for me. He confessed so quickly I don't need him anymore," Luo Jun ordered. Qianlu hurriedly nodded. After ending the call with Luo Jun, he went to Lu Yin's location to meet him. "Xianxia?" Lu Yin raised his brows. Something had indeed happened. Luo Jun had confirmed that the passageway could be opened, and Xianxia was there as well. Qianlu said, "It's not just Xianxia. Many cultivators from our space-time continuum have gathered there as well. There's also a stranger that I've never seen before, but he seems to be chatting happily with Xianxia. His status isn't much lower than Xianxia's and he looks very young." "What about his appearance?" Lu Yin asked warily. Qianlu met Lu Yin's gaze. "You're from the primordial space and you're so young. You also have the support of an extremely strong powerhouse. If I'm not wrong, you might be the Dao Master of the Above Heaven sect, Lu Yin." Lu Yin's gaze trembled, but he didn't say anything. Qianlu stared into Lu Yin's eyes. "Maybe, maybe not. I don't care, I just want freedom. The control that you and that powerhouse planted in my body must be removed. I can't be controlled by you for the rest of my life. Are you trying to negotiate with me?" Lu Yin's tone became much lower. Qianlu said, "There's no need to threaten me. I've already made a backup of everything that happened. If anything happens to me, your identity as Xianxia as well as everything you've done along with my guesses will immediately appear in Lord Luo, the Void God Spacetime Continuum, and even Mu Jun's disappearance. Everyone will know that you're Xianxia's hidden identity." Lu Yin remained silent. Qianlu frowned. "I'm very grateful that you opened the door for me and allowed me to break through. I know about your situation and you know about mine as well. I've sided with Freedom Palace, and if Lord Luo finds out, I won't have a good ending. No one likes a traitor, so even if you remove your control over me, I won't betray you. We'll work together. I'll help you investigate the situation on the other side of the passage. There will be many opportunities for us to work together in the future, but the prerequisite is that you remove your control over me as well. Otherwise, we'll all die together." Lu Yin was amused. He didn't believe that Qianlu would die together with him, but he didn't want to fight to the death either. Xianxia's identity was too important, and it was only getting more and more important. It involved Su Wuji, Su Heng, Su Leng Yufang and many other powerhouses. What would they think of him if he was exposed? Even if he had to be exposed, he would do so on his own initiative, not by someone else. The Six Direction Association's attitude towards the Genesis space had never been good to begin with. Qianlu took advantage of this threat, and while it was a threat, he also wanted to help Lu Yin. What he wanted was cooperation, not one-sided control. Lu Yin exhaled and smiled. "I didn't think it through. I wanted to control an extreme powerhouse and didn't respect Senior Qianlu. I apologize." Qianlu heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Lu Yin's attitude. He was afraid that Lu Yin wouldn't fight to the death with him because of his identity as Xianxia. It wouldn't be good for anyone, so this was the best outcome. "When will you remove my control?" Lu Yin replied, "Let's end this." Qianlu wanted to say something, but Lu Yin interrupted. "Senior, what's there to worry about? You forced me to remove my control because you already guessed my identity and knew that Mu Jun's disappearance was related to me, not this passage." "No, it has to be done immediately," Qianlu replied. Lu Yin said, "No one knows what the passage is like. I need an extreme powerhouse to oversee it. Senior, are you willing to come with me to the Genesis space to help you remove it?" Of course, Qianlu wasn't willing. He wasn't stupid and he wasn't worried about being silenced. Once the passage is opened, the Genesis space will be unobstructed, and my identity as Xianxia will be meaningless. Since that's the case, I might as well take you down with me. In any case, even if I want to remove your control, it has to be after the passage is over. Qianlu naturally wanted to remove the control as soon as possible, but Lu Yin was right. Once the passage was opened, Qianlu would have to return to the Genesis space to protect it. His identity as Xianxia would be gone, so it didn't matter if he kept it or not. The Sixth Direction Association had never been friendly to the Genesis space, and if he guessed correctly, Mu Jun's disappearance was related to this person. Perhaps he was dead or perhaps he was still alive, but this person had the ability to threaten the Sixth Direction Association. With him and Mu Jun, even if the passage was opened, this person was enough to threaten the Sixth Direction Association, or at least the three sovereign spacetimes. It was better to wait until the passage was over. As long as the passage wasn't opened, this person's identity as Xianxia would be useful. Qinlu cared about Xianxi's identity, which was why he had removed his control. Of course, removing my control is one thing, but I also need you to swear that you will not reveal my identity under any circumstances. Violators. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold. May the heavens and earth destroy you. Qinlu looked deeply at Lu Yin. All right, let's both swear that I will not reveal your identity or my speculations, and you, Xianxia, will not reveal my relationship with the Repose Palace. From now on, you and I will work together. Lu Yin nodded. Not long after, Qinlu left, leaving behind information about what he had seen at the passage. Lu Yin now knew why Luo Jun was so certain that the passage could be opened. The person who had been chatting happily with Xiaoxinji was none other than one of the four origin array heavenly masters of the cosmic tree, the youngest heavenly master, Mu Shang. Lu Yin and Mu Shang had many grievances, but he had never expected that Mu Shang would come to the three sovereign spacetime and help them open a passage to the fifth mainland. Xinwu continent was overseen by Wuxia, and the cosmic tree had given up hope of opening a passage there. Instead they had come here. Could Mu Shang break the luck path array from the three sovereign spacetime? Lu Yin did not know, but he did not dare to take the risk. Mu Shang was not a match for heavenly master Gu Yan, but the three sovereign spacetime had not prepared for nothing. Six Directions Society might also have the assistance of an origin array heavenly master, so the most reliable method was to prevent these people from attacking the passage. Rainbow Wall. Elder Chan still did not know that the three sovereign spacetime was planning to attack the passage. He was focused on resisting the Eternals, and if not for the grudge between the Genesis space and the Six Directions Society, he would not have cared about anything else other than blocking the Eternals for humanity. As he was thinking, the wireless goo vibrated in his pocket. The wireless goo could communicate across space, and as long as they were in the same parallel universe, Lu Yin could directly contact Elder Chan without worrying about being monitored. Through the wireless goo, Lu Yin informed Elder Chan of the situation and asked him to leave. A few days later, the Eternals attacked the three sovereign spacetime. The battle was intense, and Elder Chan suddenly left without warning. Luo Jun was the first to know, and he shouted that Elder Chan did not care about the safety of humanity and was a traitor. Elder Chan's departure left a gap in the defense. The Progenitor Realm Corpse King appeared at Elder Chan's position and attacked the Rainbow Wall. The Forgotten Ruins God also took advantage of this opportunity to attack Luo Jun and Star Lord, and the Rainbow Wall was on the verge of collapse. Chapter 2659. Xiaoxinji had no choice but to return from the passage and fight the Progenitor Corpse King. However, because of Elder Chan's sudden departure, the Eternals increased their attacks and more Progenitor Corpse Kings appeared. Qinlu was forced to join the front line. The Forgotten Ruins God rarely went all out, and Luo Jun and Star-Lord were unable to resist him. Xiaoxinji had no choice but to help. The three of them joined forces and barely managed to resist him, but Qinlu could not stop the Progenitor Corpse King and the Progenitor Corpse King. At that moment, a Yuan sage appeared from the three monarchs spacetime and blocked the Rainbow Wall. Qinlu did not expect Yuan sage to appear. He did not know that Yuan sage was also in the three monarchs spacetime. Not only him, but the Forgotten Ruins God and the Progenitor also did not know that Yuan sage was one of the 9 sages of the reincarnation spacetime. Why would he appear in the three monarchs spacetime? Luo Jun and the others were not surprised, but they were surprised by Elder Chan's sudden departure. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Yin appeared outside the passage and looked into the distance. He saw a familiar figure. It was Mu Shang. Now was the time to test his divine power. Lu Yin changed his appearance and imagined the scene of the three monarchs spacetime enslaving the fifth mainland when the passage opened. His familiar family and friends would all become demi-humans, and the people he cared about would die, wail, and despair. He could not let this happen. Gradually, Lu Yin's eyes turned red. It was the red dot in his heart. Red filled the air with cruelty, killing intent, brutality, and an indescribable sense of devastation. In an instant, a terrifying scarlet energy spread out in all directions. His consciousness was blurred and Lu Yin did not know what he was thinking. He only knew that there was a face that had to be destroyed. He could not control his desire to kill. In the distance, Mu Shang was staring at the passage in a daze. The Luck Path Array was a sourcebox array created by Heavenly Master Gu Yan. He understood that although he was confident that he could break it, it was unlikely that he could do it alone. He had to rely on the power of an origin array Heavenly Master who was comparable to Heavenly Master Gu Yan and more than one progenitor to open the passage. He had to open it and connect the fifth mainland to the three monarchs spacetime. Lu Yin, this is what you deserve. The Lu family should have disappeared long ago. Mu Shang's eyes burned. He would do everything he could to break the Luck Path Array. Suddenly, a dark red light flashed past. His scalp went numb as he turned around and saw a red dot in the distance getting closer and closer. What was that? There was a loud boom as the void exploded. Lu Yin's body was covered in a scarlet radiance, and no matter how much Sovereign's aura attacked him from all directions, he was completely unaffected. With a sweep of his hand, a cultivator in one direction was annihilated. He then took a step forward, stared at Mu Shang and attacked. Mu Shang was shocked. Corpse King. He instantly set up a sourcebox array and took out a power vessel, but Lu Yin tore it apart. During the battle in the Heavenly Realm Treasury, Lu Yin had drawn upon Gui Chuan's deathly aura in an attempt to use Go Lian's death god power to kill Madman Lu. However, Madman Lu had used the eyeless transformation, and his physical body was far more powerful than Lu Yin had imagined. He was far stronger than Xianxia, but Lu Yin's divine force had still left a huge wound on his body. That was something that death god Go Lian could not do even if he used his left arm to draw in the deathly aura. Only god power could do it. With the support of his divine power, all of Mu Shang's techniques were as weak as a piece of paper and were torn apart by Lu Yin. Lu Yin grabbed Mu Shang's head and instantly disappeared with him. Xianxia and Yuanxing were not around, so no one could stop Lu Yin. Lu Yin grabbed Mu Shang and disappeared from the tunnel, reappearing in a corner of the three sovereigns' spacetime. Mu Shang crashed to the ground, all of his bones shattered. He spat out a mouthful of blood as he stared in horror at the figure in front of him. The figure stood there. Lu Yin found it difficult to maintain his consciousness. He stared at Mu Shang's face and tried to control his godly power, but the frenzied killing intent permeated the air, and he could not control it at all. His entire body trembled and there was only one word in his mind: kill, kill, kill. Mu Shang coughed up blood and tried to escape. Lu Yin suddenly moved closer and stared at Mu Shang as he said, "It's over." Mu Shang's pupils shrank as he recognized Lu Yin. "Lu Yin, you're Lu Yin." With a bang, Mu Shang was crushed into the ground, his bones shattered. Lu Yin did not show any mercy as he punched. When Mu Shang died, the killing intent in Lu Yin's mind miraculously disappeared, allowing him to regain his consciousness. He sat on the ground, panting heavily. It had been too dangerous. He had wanted to test his divine power and use it to leave behind traces of the Eternals, but he had not expected it to be so dangerous. If he had been careless, he could have been devoured by the killing intent. This was the power of the one true God. It was no wonder that the Eternals were the mortal enemies of the human race. Their minds were filled with killing intent and enslavement. However, the killing intent had disappeared after Lu Yin killed Mu Shang. Lu Yin looked at the ground. Was it because Mu Shang was the cause of his killing intent? Was Mu Shang the key to this killing intent? Lu Yin pondered as he looked at his heart. The red dot was still there, like an eternal red star that illuminated the continent formed by the Fatesin. The power in his body was too strange. Lu Yin could not understand it, and even Mr. Mu was surprised. He used his divine power, but it showed no signs of decreasing. It was like a seed had been planted in his body. Lu Yin was worried that one day his divine power would control him uncontrollably, which would lead to a disaster. He thought about the future he had seen in his destiny divination. Would he really kill his family and friends one by one? Every time he thought about this, he felt uneasy. Xianxia was right. He was an unlucky person. If he wanted to change the future, he must change it. While Lu Yin had successfully killed Mu Shang, Luo Jun and the others had also defended the Rainbow Wall. With the addition of Yuanxing and Chen Lu, there was no reason for the Rainbow Wall to fail, even if the Eternals had an additional progenitor. As the battle on the front line slowed down, The incident at the passage was reported to Luo Jun. Luo Jun was furious and immediately rushed to the passage. Xianxia and Yuanxing followed him. They saw the remnant divine power in the starry sky. Yuanxing looked solemn. This is not an ordinary corpse king. There is actually remnant divine power. Could it be a clone of the seven gods? Luo Jun had not expected the remnant divine power to appear. Xianxia's face was gloomy. He had failed. What had gone wrong? Why had the Eternals attacked Mushang? If there was remnant divine power, it had to be the Eternals. But why? If there was no remnant divine power, he would have suspected Lu Yin. Only Lu Yin would not want the two spacetimes to be separated. However, now that there was remnant divine power, he could not doubt Lu Yin. Lu Yin could not be the corpse king of the Eternals. What was going on? No one could figure out what had happened. Your Excellency Yuanxing, Elder Chan fled and caused the battle to be at a disadvantage. This matter must be investigated, Luo Jun said solemnly. Yuanxing said, I know. This matter will not pass so easily. Xianxia looked at the passage. What a coincidence. Your Excellency Yuanxing just appeared and invited the Origin Array Heavenly Master from the Reincarnation Spacetime to help. After breaking this passage, Elder Chan left, forcing us to join the battle. If not for Elder Chan's departure, Mu Shang would not have been in trouble. Yuanxing's eyes were cold. Are you saying that this matter has something to do with the above heavens? Luo Jun looked at Xianxia. Xianxia said, there is no evidence, but no matter how I look at it, it has something to do with the above heavens. But there is divine power here, Luo Jun said. Xianxia was speechless. This was the most suspicious point. Could it be that the above heavens had joined forces with the Eternals? It was ridiculous. No matter how much Xianxia hated Lu Yin, he could not make such a deduction. It was all thanks to Lu Yin that the Eternals in the starry sky of the trees had been defeated. If not for Lu Yin, the Eternals might have invaded the starry sky of the trees. There was no need for them to specially nurture Lu Yin to oppose them. Yuanxing was irritated. No matter what, I need to figure out why Elder Chan suddenly left. He then looked at Xianxia. Besides Mu Shang, who else knows about luck path arrays? Xianxia shook his head. Among the four great origin array heavenly masters in the starry sky of the trees, Mu Shang is the youngest and most talented. That's why he occasionally received guidance from Heavenly Master Gu Yan. Heavenly Master Gu Yan also did not dislike him. However, Heavenly Master Gu Yan only had one disciple called Gu Yu. He died many years ago, and it was because of Gu Yu that the passage was first sealed. Luo Jun's eyes widened. Gu Yu and Gu Yan were the master-disciple duo that had caused their wish to enter the Genesis space to fail. He would not let these two off. Yuanxing looked deeply at Xianxia. Sometimes there is no need to rush things. If Heavenly Master Gu Yan's disciple is dead, help him find another one. As long as he can learn luck path arrays from him, he will be able to help us one day. We can afford to wait for hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. Xianxia nodded. I understand. Yuanxing left. He had to go to the Genesis space to figure out why Elder Chan had suddenly left. After Yuanxing left, Luo Jun and Xianxia exchanged glances. Is it possible that Lu Yin is colluding with the Eternals? Xianxia frowned. Even if I don't want to admit it, the possibility of him colluding with the Eternals is too low. Luo Jun's eyes turned cold. He had not expected that there would be a spy in the Three Sovereigns universe that could use divine power. This was a huge threat that had to be investigated. In the Genesis space, in the Fifth Mainland Sky Sect, Yuanxing had arrived to look for Elder Chan. Elder Chan was surprised by Yuanxing's appearance. I only came back to retrieve a power vessel. Why are you here? Yuanxing narrowed his eyes. You came back to retrieve a power vessel? Elder Chan nodded. Before the Eternals completely attack the Rainbow Wall, I wanted to throw gluttony to them to see if it would have some effect. Yuanxing frowned. What is gluttony? It seems that the reincarnation spacetime does not know much about the Genesis space. Gluttony is one of the disasters of the Fourth Mainland during the era of the above heaven. It is a metal that evolves by devouring flesh and blood. Elder Chan took out gluttony. Naturally, Lu Yin had placed it in the above heaven after he had advanced. This was also the reason why Elder Chan had returned. Don't underestimate this metal. It was able to bring disaster to the Fourth Mainland in the past. As one of the 3 sovereigns and 9 sages, you should have heard of it even if you did not experience that era. Yuan Xing's expression turned solemn. Of course, he had heard of the Fourth Mainland during the era of the Above Heaven. There were not many historical records of the Genesis space itself. Instead, there were many records of the reincarnation spacetime, such as the Fourth Mainland. Chapter 2660. Yuan Sage knew that the Fourth Mainland was dominated by giant galactic beasts. The Above Sky sect had enslaved the giant galactic beasts and carved out a continent for them. The ruler of that continent was called the Desolate God, one of the 6 paths of the 3 realms. He was an expert on the same level as the 3 sovereigns and would definitely rank among the top 5 in the reincarnation spacetime. Even as one of the 9 sages, Yuan Sage did not dare to underestimate such an existence. This metal can actually bring disaster to the Fourth Mainland? Yuan Sage was surprised. Old Chan held gluttony, which was constantly twisting and turning. The sharp spike tried to pierce Old Chan's skin and absorb his blood, but this upgraded gluttony only had the power of a First Tribulation origin emissary. How could it hurt Old Chan? Yuan Sage stared at Old Zen. Even so, you should not have left the spacetime battlefield of the 3 sovereigns without permission. Do you know how much danger your departure has brought to the battlefield? Old Zen put away gluttony. As far as I know, someone from the 3 sovereigns spacetime has broken through to the progenitor realm. This means that even if I am not around, the 3 sovereigns spacetime will still have 1 less progenitor. If that's the case, why do I have to protect the 3 sovereigns spacetime? This is the agreement I made with Lu Yin. If you are unwilling, let him go. In short, the Above Sky sect must have an progenitor enter the spacetime battlefield of the 3 sovereigns. Otherwise, don't blame the 6 paths for attacking you again. With that, he left. This time he was mainly there to test if Old Zen's departure was related to what had happened at the passageway. Now it seemed that he had left because he was dissatisfied with the fact that Qinlu had broken through to the progenitor realm in the 3 sovereigns spacetime but still needed him to guard the front line against the Eternals. This was the biggest reason for his departure. As for gluttony, Yuan Sage did not believe it at all. However, he could basically rule out the possibility that Old Zen had anything to do with what had happened at the passageway. In fact, no one believed that the Above Sky sect had anything to do with the Eternals. It was too unbelievable. If the Above Sky sect had colluded with the Eternals, the origin space would have already fallen and the Eternals would have opened the passageway to the 3 sovereigns spacetime. This was a contradictory guess from the beginning. Even Xianxia, who hated Lu Yin, could not have guessed it. It could only be said that the Eternals knew the 6 paths and had attacked the 6 paths. After leaving the origin space, Yuan Sage went to the 3 sovereigns spacetime and told Luo Jun. Is it really a coincidence? Luo Jun didn't believe it. How could there be such a coincidence? The one who benefited the most from Mu Shang's death was the Above Heaven sect. It was that Tao Master Lu Yin, but the one who was least likely to collude with the Eternal Tribe was the Above Heaven sect. What exactly happened? No matter what happened in the outside world, no one disturbed Lu Yin. Lu Yin had already returned and he looked at Song Bai, who was loyally standing guard outside. As a half-ancestor, she didn't even have the qualifications to interfere with the matters of the outside world. Since when had half-ancestors become so cheap? He had to think of a way to let the Above Heaven sect's half-step ancestors break through to the ancestor realm one by one. Only then would the primordial space have the ability to confront the 6 Directions gang. If he could obtain the power of a Grand Empyrean that granted him a seat in the ancestor realm, how good would that be? If all of them were sealed in the ancestor realm, he wouldn't be afraid of anyone. The time and space of the 3 sovereigns calmed down. Luo Jun and the others were still investigating why Mu Shang was targeted by the Corpse Kings. Elder Chan had returned to the Rainbow Wall. Luo Jun and Xianxia had tried to find him and probe him, but they couldn't get any information from him. Lu Yin also increased his efforts to search for spies, making a big show of searching for the person who was selling information. His performance was completely normal. At the same time, Qinlu saw a stranger. He only had the cultivation of an emissary, but his expression was solemn. It was Mu. Mr. Daheng sent his regards on behalf of this lowly one. Congratulations to Lord Qinlu for breaking through to the sovereign realm and becoming a powerhouse worthy of being recorded in the annals of history. The newcomer was a young woman. Her appearance was ordinary and her cultivation was ordinary. Everything about her was ordinary, but it was this ordinary person that caused Qin Li's mood to drop. He hadn't expected Mr. Daheng to contact him at this moment. He had thought that after he had opened the door and broken through to the sovereign realm, Mr. Daheng would no longer bother with him. After all, he had relied on himself to open the door and break free from Mr. Daheng's control. Generally speaking, Mr. Daheng shouldn't have contacted him, and the two of them should have even become enemies. Lord Qinlu, are you surprised? The woman's eyes lit up as she looked at Qinlu. Qinlu looked at her gloomily. What else did Mr. Daheng say? She respectfully replied, Mr. Daheng only congratulated Lord Qinlu and didn't say anything else. He just wanted me to hear what Lord Qinlu wanted to say. Qinlu frowned. What did he want to say? What could he say? Become enemies? He wouldn't dare. Even if he broke through to the sovereign realm, he wouldn't dare to become enemies with Mr. Daheng. But what did it matter if they weren't enemies? For a moment he didn't know what to say. After breaking through to the sovereign realm, he hadn't expected to come into contact with anyone from the Hall of Freedom. It was probably because of the stone. Mr. Daheng cared too much about the stone, but it wasn't in his hands. Otherwise he could have just given it to the woman. He wasn't afraid that the Hall of Freedom would tell Lord Luo. If they did, the Hall of Freedom would be in trouble. He had thought that unless he fought to the death with Xianxia, this matter would disappear forever. He hadn't expected the Hall of Freedom to come looking for him. What does Mr. Daheng want from me? Qinlu asked again. The woman still wanted to hear what Qinlu had to say. In the end, Qinlu didn't say anything and the woman left. Mr. Daheng said that if you don't want to say anything, you can go to this place to find him. The woman seemed to have only come to leave behind an address. Qinlu looked at the address in a daze. Should he go or not? If he didn't go, he might really become enemies with the Hall of Freedom and become enemies with a terrifying expert like Mr. Daheng. If he went, what would he gain? He looked at his body. Breaking free from Xianxi's control? Would he be controlled by Mr. Daheng again? He didn't know. He had broken free from the portal's control, and the moment he saw Mr. Daheng again, Qinlu hesitated. This hesitation lasted for half a month, and after that he went to find Lu Yin. Lu Yin hadn't expected Qinlu to come looking for him so late. He had thought that Qinlu would come looking for him as soon as the matter at the passage was over. What's going on? Why was Mu Shang killed by an eternal? Qinlu questioned. Only he knew the answer to this question, and no one else knew that Lu Yin was the one who had dealt with Mu Shang. Lu Yin confidently replied, So the Eternals are allowed to use spies against us humans, but I'm not allowed to use them? Qinlu stared at him. You're using the Eternals? Lu Yin replied, What, do you think I'm a spy? Haven't you already guessed my identity? Why are you still so suspicious? Qinli's eyes flashed. According to our agreement, remove your control over me. Lu Yin nodded. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Wuxia walked out and stood a few meters away from Qinlu. Qinlu was apprehensive as he was almost certain that these two were from the Primordial Space's Supreme Sect. That Supreme Sect had more than one monarch, so it was no wonder that they could fight against Xianxia and the others. When people fought, even a Yuan sage could only hold them accountable and couldn't suppress them. I can help you remove your control, but you have to do one thing, Lu Yin said. Qinli's gaze turned cold. This is the condition that we agreed on. Once the matter at the passage is resolved, you'll help me remove my control. Are you going back on your word? What I want to do will only benefit you, Senior. Why don't you listen to it? Lu Yin asked calmly. Qinlu only wanted to remove Wuxia's control and didn't want to complicate matters. However, he looked at Wuxia and knew that if he didn't listen, it was unlikely that he would be able to remove Wuxia's control. He could threaten Lu Yin to remove his control, but that would only be a threat and not a life-and-death struggle. If the two of them didn't give in, then they would only end up in a life-and-death struggle. Alright, speak. Qinli's face darkened. Lu Yin raised his hand and in his palm was the landscape painting stone. Qinli's eyes narrowed when he saw it, as this was what Mr. Daheng valued the most. I hope that Senior can personally hand this stone over to Lord Luo, Lu Yin said. Qinlu thought that he had misheard. Hand it over to Lord Luo? You want me to confess without being pressed? Lu Yin laughed. Senior, you can come up with a reason, any reason, as long as you can obtain this stone and hand it over to Lord Luo. Lord Luo doesn't know how important this stone is, and neither you nor I do. It seems that only Mr. Daheng knows. Since that's the case, it won't be difficult for you to hand it over to Lord Luo. Why? Qinlu didn't understand. Lu Yin asked, Senior, Do you think that Freedom Hall has given up on you? Qin Lu raised his brows and looked at Lu Yin suspiciously. Was this person watching him? Lu Yin blinked. From Senior's expression, it seems like someone from Freedom Hall has come looking for you. How do you know? Qin Lu looked at Lu Yin with increasing apprehension. Lu Yin laughed. Mr. Daheng has been plotting against you for so many years and even used his door to block your path to the Lord Realm, all for the sake of more people finding this stone. Senior, you've already captured someone from the Bai family, so it's very likely that you've already obtained the stone. How could Mr. Daheng give it up? Qin Lu frowned. He was well aware that Mr. Daheng cared about the stone, but he was also an extreme powerhouse. Normally, if an extreme powerhouse were to be compared to a stone, the extreme powerhouse would naturally be more important. However, it seemed like Xianxia was right. In Mr. Daheng's eyes, the stone was more important than an extreme powerhouse like him. Someone from Freedom Hall has come looking for you, and you won't be able to shake them off. Why don't you give the stone to Lord Luo? That Mr. Daheng is very low-key, so it's unlikely that he would expose the fact that you've joined Freedom Hall. Lord Luo doesn't know about this either, so let Mr. Daheng cause trouble for Lord Luo. It'll be even better if he misunderstands that you've joined Freedom Hall because of Lord Luo's orders. Of course, the chances of that happening are low, but no matter what, it'll be easier for you to escape if Mr. Daheng focuses his attention on Lord Luo, right? Lu Yin said. Qin Li's eyes flickered. This was a good idea. If Mr. Daheng cared about that stone the most, then he could just give it to Lord Luo. He had tried to probe Lord Luo before, but Lord Luo did not understand the importance of the stone. Lu Yin could just give it to him and have Mr. Daheng keep an eye on Lord Luo. As long as Lu Yin did not come into contact with Freedom Hall, he should be fine. The only problem was that he would be in danger if he ran into someone from Freedom Hall in the endless battlefield. Thank you. Zhang Damien Fei 1985. Thank you for your support, brothers. I'll add more chapters, thank you. Chapter 2661. He had to think of a way to divert Mr. Daheng's attention away without offending the Hall of Freedom. You don't want this stone anymore? Qin Lu looked at the stone in Lu Yin's hand. Lu Yin weighed it in his hand. I don't know what it's for. Then why don't you just give it to Mr. Daheng? Qin Lu did not understand. Lu Yin's lips curled up. I told you to give it directly to Mr. Daheng and get rid of your worries. What about me? Qin Li's gaze was cold. Lu Yin continued. Unless you continue to be controlled by me, then I'll let you hand the stone over to Mr. Daheng. Otherwise, you'll have to hand it over to Lord Luo. Once my control over your body is removed, I'll be able to use it to threaten you. If you dare to fight me to the death, then I won't let you off easily. Before this, if Lord Luo discovered that you had joined the Repose Palace, you could have explained that you had been threatened, but after you gave the stone to Lord Luo, that explanation was invalid. Qin Li's gaze hardened. Not only is this ineffective, but this action is also suspected of sowing discord between Lord Luo and the Hall of Repose. Lu Yin smiled. It's not that serious. It depends on what you think. Qin Lu looked at Lu Yin and then at Wuxia. You're ruthless. Lu Yin clasped his hands behind his back. Actually, you still have another option. You can go directly to Mr. Daheng and explain the situation, or you can go directly to Lord Luo and ask them to help you remove the control. On the surface, you'll agree with me, but in reality, once you're in front of them, they won't even know what you'll choose. You might even be able to plot against me. Senior Qin Lu, what do you think of this option? Qin Lu wasn't stupid, and he had already thought of this path before coming to Lu Yin. He could do this, but if he went to Mr. Daheng, he would have to risk being controlled. If he went to Luo Jun, he would have to risk revealing that he had joined the Repose Palace. After weighing the pros and cons, he would rather go to Luo Jun. At worst, he would just have to confess everything he had done. After all, he had never harmed any of the three monarch spacetimes. Now that Mu Jun was missing and he had broken through to the monarch realm, Luo Jun couldn't do anything to him. But the biggest hesitation in looking for Lord Luo was whether Lord Luo could really remove the control. Qin Lu did not understand Luo Jun's strength at all. In fact, no outsider knew about it. He could not be sure that Luo Jun could definitely remove the control, and Mr. Daheng could definitely help him remove the control. However, the possibility of him being controlled by Mr. Daheng was also very high. This was Qin Li's biggest problem. He had no choice. There were too many difficult questions in a person's life that they could not choose from. In the end, it was because they did not know the answer. If he was sure that Lord Luo could help him remove the control, or if he was sure that Mr. Daheng would not control him, then things would be simple. But now how should he choose? Furthermore, Lu Yin had taken the initiative to mention this path, which made him even more hesitant. Could this person have left some sort of backup plan on him? Lu Yin's words echoed in Qin Li's mind. This person was very cautious in his actions. It was unlikely that such a person would leave a way out for him, so why did he specifically remind him? Various thoughts were constantly entangled in his mind, causing a monarch realm expert like Qin Lu to be in a mess. Lu Yin looked at Qin Li's flickering eyes and knew that he was making a choice. No matter what Qin Lu chose, it would be difficult for Lu Yin to control him in the Three Sovereigns universe. If he really killed Qin Lu, Lord Luo would definitely find out and Xianxi's identity would be exposed. Actually, there's another option, Lu Yin said slowly. Qin Lu looked at him. What? Lu Yin smiled. Working with the Above Heaven sect. Qin Li's pupils shrank. Above Heaven? Lu Yin raised his head. Yes, the Above Heaven sect. It's a powerful organization with several powerhouses and a deep foundation. Even the Six Paths Association is afraid of it, and the Three Sovereigns and 9 Sages don't want to provoke it directly. It's also plotting against the Three Sovereigns universe to replace it. This is also your choice. This was the first time Lu Yin had admitted that he was from the Above Heaven sect, which was different from Qin Li's guess. Qin Li stared at Lu Yin in a daze. Who are you? Lu Yin smiled. Above Heaven sect, Lu Yin. Qin Li's expression changed slightly. Lu Yin? That Tao Lord? You're really him? Qin Lu, are you willing to work with the Above Heaven sect? Lu Yin spoke bluntly. Qin Lu was even more confused now that there was another Above Heaven sect. Lu Yin said, whether you join the Repose Palace or stay in the Three Sovereigns universe, you won't have a good ending. Mr. Daheng will control you and Lord Luo is good at enslaving others. They have a use for you now, so they won't care about what you've done. But if they don't need you one day, what will you do? Mu Jun is in my hands. Do you want to talk to her? Qin Lu was shocked. Mu Jun's disappearance is really related to you? She's still alive and she's willing to help me scheme against the Three Sovereigns universe. One is Mu Jun and the other is you. The Three Sovereigns universe is too weak, and with the Above Heaven sect as your backing, you don't need to fear anyone. Even Mr. Daheng, would he dare to come to the Genesis space? The Sixth Direction Association clearly forbids anyone from entering the Genesis space without permission. What I'm doing now and what I can accomplish in the future isn't something that Mr. Daheng can compare to, much less a mere Lord Luo. Qin Li couldn't argue with his words, but he didn't agree immediately either. Besides, my Above Heaven sect is hidden in the shadows. As long as you cooperate, you can get Mr. Daheng to target Lord Luo. Once we replace the Three Sovereigns universe, you'll be the master of this universe. I don't need that. I just need the Above Heaven sect to join the Sixth Direction Association. Lu Yin's words weren't very provocative, but there was one thing that Qin Li cared about. Replacing Lord Luo was something that could be done. After all, Mu Jun was missing, and the Three Sovereigns universe was already struggling to stop the Eternals, let alone the Above Heaven sect. Will Mu Jun really help you? Qin Lu was doubtful. Lu Yin smiled. She doesn't have a choice. If she doesn't help me, she'll die. Qin Li's eyes flickered. It was this sentence again. He had been threatened by this sentence before. How are you going to scheme against the Three Sovereigns universe? How are you going to replace Lord Luo? The reincarnation universe won't agree, Qin Li asked. Lu Yin replied, that's my business. Do you think that Su Wei, Su Heng, Su Leng and Su Wuji are just acquaintances? When I faced Lotus Reverend's disciples, Su Heng and Su Leng blocked my path. Su Wuji once said that he would shoulder everything for me. Senior Su Wei even taught me the Taishan domain and I even met Master Su. Qin Lu was stunned. Right, this person wasn't just a Above Heaven sect disciple, he was also Xianxia. This identity involved too many people and there were even a few extreme powerhouses. I'll give you time to think about it. Take this. Lu Yin tossed the stone to Qin Lu. You can choose to hand it to Lord Luo and do as I say, or you can choose to confess. You can also choose to hand it to Mr. Daheng in exchange for my trust. But don't forget that you don't know my senior's strength. Can Mr. Daheng really remove his control? Have you forgotten how terrifying the Above Heaven sect era was? Qin Lu was astonished. Everything he had thought of was based on the premise that Mr. Daheng could remove his control. If even Mr. Daheng couldn't, then what would happen to him? Mr. Daheng definitely wouldn't trust someone who was being controlled, and Qin Li's fate would definitely not be good. If Lord Luo couldn't remove his control, then his first reaction would be to kill Qin Lu. Who would trust someone who was being controlled by someone else? Qin Lu sobered up as he had forgotten about this matter. He looked at Wuxia. This person was an extreme powerhouse from the primordial space and no one knew exactly how strong he was. That Xianxia wasn't weak and he shouldn't be inferior to Lord Luo. Even if this person could remove Mr. Daheng's control, it didn't mean that Mr. Daheng could do the same. Removing control and defeating were two completely different concepts. He had to take a gamble and winning the gamble was what he had been hesitating about. If he lost he would lose everything. Qin Li's mind was in a mess and he needed to calm down. Before he left, Lu Yin added, "I'll participate in the Grand Empyrean Tea Party." Qin Lu was stunned. "What?" Lu Yin replied, "I'll participate in the Grand Empyrean Tea Party. Grand Empyreans won't be able to touch me." Qin Li's eyes narrowed and he felt that this was absurd. Grand Empyreans won't be able to touch you? It's up to you to believe it or not. Lu Yin then let Qin Lu leave. Qin Lu disappeared. He had received too much information today, so much that even an extreme powerhouse like him didn't know what to choose. However, there was one thing that was certain. The choice he made today would affect his future. He hadn't considered the fact that Lu Yin had promised Old Crazy to take revenge for the 100 Family clan. In his opinion, how could someone like Lu Yin care about the 100 Family clan's revenge? Compared to the value of an extreme powerhouse like him, such a small grudge was too childish. After Qin Lu left, Lu Yin sighed. How tiring. Wuxia looked at Lu Yin with admiration. "Junior brother, your eloquence is amazing." Lu Yin smiled wryly. "Don't tease me, senior brother. I'm not that eloquent. If it weren't for your unfathomable mysteriousness, he wouldn't have dared to guarantee that others would be able to break free from your control." "But he didn't immediately ask me to remove the control," Wuxia said. Lu Yin nodded. It wasn't that he didn't want to keep his promise, but the implications were too great, and he felt like he was dancing on a knife's edge. This was the first time he had threatened and tempted a progenitor and a quasi-enemy at that. If he wasn't careful, it would be a life-and-death struggle. This was even more tiring than fighting a progenitor. "What do you think he'll choose?" Wuxia was curious. Lu Yin replied, "I don't know. I can't guess what a progenitor is thinking. After all, he's a powerhouse who can change the world. Also, I don't understand Mr. Daheng's position in his heart. If he thinks that Mr. Daheng is comparable to a Grand Empyrean, then we should quickly escape." Wuxia nodded. "Yes, we're not afraid of a life-and-death struggle, but we're afraid of ignorance. We'll go to the Eternal Kingdom and wait. No matter what, we can't stay in this space-time. I'll have someone wait for him here. If he cooperates with us, we'll take the risk and go to the Eternal Kingdom. If he doesn't," Lu Yin's gaze turned cold, "he should give up on his identity as Xianxia. Nothing could be smooth sailing. He had used the Bai family to fish out Qin Lu and had just taken control of the three sovereigns' spacetime to plot against them. They were one step too late and had almost opened up the passage. If not for Qin Lu, he wouldn't have known that the situation was so dangerous. Qin Lu had played a role, but if they fought to the death, he would have to sacrifice his identity as Xianxia. There were gains and losses. Compared to opening up the passage between the three sovereigns' spacetime and the fifth mainland, he would rather lose his identity as Xianxia. At worst, he could come back later. Once the passage was opened, the consequences would be unpredictable. Chapter 2662. Lu Yin did not know how much mental struggle Qin Lu had gone through. This was a choice that could not be reversed. Luo Jun, Mr. Daheng and Lu Yin. If he chose one of the three parties, he would not be able to deal with the other two once he was exposed. It was equivalent to staking his life on this choice. If it was someone who had just come into contact with the Repose Palace, Qin Lu would definitely choose Mr. Daheng. However, after his conversation with Lu Yin, he had many more misgivings, and these misgivings caused his mind to be in chaos. Half a month later, Qin Lu met Luo Jun. Luo Jun sized up the stone in his hand. "Is this the supreme treasure you were talking about?" Qin Lu continued. "Back then I obtained it by accident, but I encountered experts at the same level as me fighting over it in the endless battlefield. Even the corpse kings of the Eternals had their eyes on me. Perhaps it was because of this item that I studied it for a long time, but I couldn't find anything. I could only ask Lord Luo Jun to give it a try. Luo Jun looked at the stone with a puzzled expression. Send someone to investigate the location of the landscape painting on this stone. If it really is a supreme treasure, then the secret should be in that direction. However, this stone is only a part of it and we still don't know how big the main body is. It'll be difficult to find the location just by looking at the painting. He then tossed the stone to Qinlu. Go look for it if you have time. Qinlu did not expect Luo Jun to not want it. How could this be? He had to give the stone to Luo Jun, otherwise, Mr. Daheng's gaze would always be on him. He hurriedly handed the stone back to Lord Luo again. Lord Luo, please accept this. The location represented by the pattern on this stone might not necessarily be the space-time of the three sovereigns. I don't plan to leave this space-time for the rest of my life. If it's possible, Lord Luo should look for it. Luo Jun thought for a moment. That's fine too. After saying that, he took the stone. Not long after, Qinlu left the Rainbow Wall. Elder Chan and Xiaxinji were working together here. Luo Jun and Xingjun did not need him. If possible, Lord Luo would rather have him guard the Rainbow Wall on his behalf. However, the Rainbow Wall required the Great Three Lords Array to maintain. Qinlu was currently unable to participate in the Great Three Lords Array. But after some time, when he stabilized his power as a lord, Lord Luo would allow him to participate in the maintenance of the Great Formation of the Three Lords. The most important thing for him right now was to investigate the spy in the Yu family. This was the mission that Luo Jun had given to Qinlu. He couldn't investigate the Yu family himself, so he let Qinlu do it. Luo Jun had always believed that Mu Jun's disappearance was related to the Yu family. On that day, Qinlu summoned the woman from the repose hall. Stone, I've already handed it over to Lord Luo. You can go back and report to Mr. Daheng, Qinlu said. Since he had already made his choice, he wouldn't hesitate. Among the three parties, Mr. Daheng was most likely to help him break the control, but he was also more likely to exert his own control after breaking the control. For Qinlu to be able to cultivate to an extremely strong level, he already had the spirit to fight against the heavens. How could he be willing to be controlled by others? Lord Luo might not be able to help him get rid of the control. Right now, the best person to cooperate with was Xianxia. He didn't believe in Xianxia's words, but he believed in his own value. As an extreme warrior, he was worthy enough to make Xianxia cooperate with him. Releasing the control was a must. This was his bottom line. As long as Xianxia didn't want to fight to the death, he wouldn't go back on his words. He said so much to him because he didn't want to fight to the death. The more he said, the more at ease Qinlu felt. Now he could only cooperate with Xianxia and regain his freedom. As for becoming enemies with Mr. Daheng, he could just hide in the primordial space and hide his identity. It was better than being controlled. The woman was shocked. You gave it to Lord Luo? You're going against Mr. Daheng. Qinli's eyes widened. A terrifying aura forced the woman to kneel. The woman trembled. This was the first time she felt the pressure of the ancestor realm's power. This power was like heaven and earth collapsing. She couldn't bear it and couldn't help but kneel down and worship. You people are just keys. Without Mr. Daheng, you don't even have the right to talk to me. Go back and tell Mr. Daheng that I, Qinlu, broke through to the June layer on my own. I broke through to the June layer on my own. I relied on myself. He stopped me from breaking through to the June layer on my own. That's the same as cutting off my future. I won't argue with him. I don't owe him anything and I won't tell anyone. I'm in the monarch realm. Even if Mr. Daheng is stronger than me, what can he do to me in the three monarch space? Frem. Qinlu shouted. The woman trembled and fled with fear in her eyes. Before she could take a few steps, her body suddenly exploded, flesh and blood flying everywhere. Qinlu was shocked. He stared at the ground that was dyed red. The smell of blood was pungent. Looking ahead, the blood formed a face. That face was engraved in his heart. It was Mr. Daheng. In the silence, Qinlu and Mr. Daheng looked at each other. Mr. Daheng wasn't angry. Instead, he looked at him with a faint smile which made Qinli's hair stand. Even though they were both extremely strong, he didn't have the confidence to fight against Mr. Daheng. It was a gap that could be seen at a glance. Without a word, the blood dissipated. After the blood completely disappeared, Qinlu heaved a sigh of relief. Unknowingly, his back was already drenched. He decided not to go out. Even if he went to the endless battlefield, he had to keep a low profile. He couldn't meet the people from the Repose Palace. Mr. Daheng was like a mountain pressing down on his head. Fortunately, the stone was given to Lord Luo. Mr. Daheng would definitely think of a way to get the stone from Lord Luo. Let them fight for it. He didn't know if Lord Luo could hold on. In the wood dimension there was a pool of wine and a forest of meat. It was the most luxurious place in the world. There was only one man in this pool of wine and a forest of meat. It was Mr. Daheng. In the surroundings, graceful figures shuttled back and forth. Joyful laughter came from women playing around. Mr. Daheng laughed maniacally. He lifted the wine from the pool and poured it over his head. He was very carefree. In the distance, fog rose. More beautiful women joined in. Mr. Daheng suddenly waved his hand. In an instant, everything in the surroundings disappeared. The pool of wine, the forest of meat, and the beautiful women all disappeared in an instant. The surroundings turned into a bamboo forest. The melodious sound of a flute came from afar. This was the enjoyment of 2 different meters. It was luxurious and peaceful. The instantaneous change didn't change Mr. Daheng's mood at all. He listened to the sound of the flute and looked at the lake in the distance. He broke through on his own? What a joke. He doesn't even know what kind of power that is. How can he break through on his own? Did he give it to Luo Shan? Then did Luo Shan help him? Or was it Luo Shan who asked him to enter the Repose Palace from the beginning? But why would Luo Shan do that? He shouldn't be clear about the stone's use. Strange. Does Luo Shan know? Or does he not know? Luo Shan. You're not simple as always. He. In the hyperspace, Zijing was brought to a new place. This place wasn't much better than the previous one. The equipment was the same. Teacher, why are we here? Zijing was curious. She had been unconscious since 2 days ago, and when she woke up she had come here. The slightly crazy old man smiled proudly. Zijing, don't you feel that this place is different from the hyperspace? Zijing was surprised. This isn't the hyperspace? She looked around and raised her head. There were no stars in sight. This was a sealed research area. What was different? Suddenly she felt that something was wrong. Were there too many clocks here? You can see now. This is a parallel space where the flow of time is different from the hyperspace. The crazy old man laughed. Zijing's expression changed. The flow of time is different. The crazy old man nodded excitedly. You should know what this means. Zijing was shocked. How much is the difference? The crazy old man said, not much, but 100 times. Zijing's eyes narrowed. 100 times difference? How did you find it? Doesn't this only exist in theory? The order is wrong. I found this parallel universe first, then I have the theory, but it's just my theory. In the reincarnation universe, there is actually a parallel universe theory of time passing differently. Maybe other parallel universes have similar theories, but there are very few that can be confirmed. This is one of the biggest secrets of my hyperspace. Studying here 100 years is only a year in hyperspace. How about it, haha? The crazy old man laughed. Zijing didn't expect the hyperspace to find such a parallel space. A long time ago there were several guesses about the theory of parallel spacetime. For example, one could find another person in a parallel space, or there were big and small parallel spacetimes. The big ones could be the entire universe and the small ones could be just a house or even a speck of dust. There were also guesses that the flow of time in parallel spacetimes was different. Perhaps 10,000 years in a parallel spacetime was just a second in one's own spacetime. There were too many guesses about parallel spacetimes. Zijing thought that parallel spacetimes were just guesses, but she didn't expect to see it with her own eyes. Teacher, how long can this spacetime exist? Zijing was excited. According to the theory of parallel spacetime, even if this kind of parallel spacetime existed, it wouldn't last for too long. The difference in the flow of time meant that it had completely different rules from other parallel spacetimes. These rules couldn't be broken. Once another parallel spacetime creature entered and broke the rules of this spacetime, it would cause chaos in the parallel spacetime and disappear. This was the same as the sequence of particles they were currently researching. Every parallel spacetime was a fixed sequence of particles. Entering another parallel spacetime was equivalent to messing up the sequence of that spacetime. Most parallel spacetimes were fine. Only time and space, which formed a parallel spacetime, had errors in the sequence of laws. Countless parallel spacetimes were a sequence of particles that surpassed everyone's knowledge. It could repair such problems on its own, but it couldn't change people's thoughts. For example, when they entered this parallel spacetime, the rules couldn't make them leave voluntarily. The only way was to make the parallel spacetime disappear. The crazy old man's expression calmed down. I can't tell. Maybe it will disappear soon or maybe it will never disappear. Isn't this the direction of our current research? Zijing nodded. That's great. With the flow of time 100 times faster, who can be a match for my hyperspace? The crazy old man laughed. Don't be happy too early. If we can find it, won't other parallel spacetimes be unable to? There are so many powerhouses in the reincarnation spacetime. I suspect that a Grand Empyrean found a parallel spacetime with an exaggerated flow of time and let them cultivate there. Zijing's eyes flashed. It's not impossible. Chapter 2663. Zijing suddenly thought of the fifth mainland. When she had first arrived there, she had looked up the theory of parallel spacetime and found that the flow of time was different. If it was the same as the hyperspace, did that mean that someone from the origin space had already entered a similar parallel spacetime? Let's research in peace here. No one will disturb us. There are only a few people in the hyperspace who know about this spacetime. As for the others here, the crazy old man scanned the area and counted at least tens of thousands of people. They will never have the chance to return. Zijing frowned. She wasn't worried that she wouldn't be able to return. The research of the sequence particle couldn't be completed without her. Even if the research was completed, she would need to control and repair it herself. No one could trap her here. However, if she wanted to leave, she would have to wait until the research was completed. What about the Dao Lord? Would he be able to find her? There was also Bai Qian. Their alliance was over. That was the most troublesome part. In the Eternal Kingdom, Lu Yin and Wuxia waited for Qinlu. It was someone from the Thunder Sealing clan who had brought him here. They weren't worried that Qinlu would bring Lord Luo or Mr. De Hing here. At worst, they could just leave the Eternal Kingdom. This was only a transit point and not the fifth mainland. Senior Qinlu, you didn't disappoint me. Lu Yin saw Qinlu smile and heaved a sigh of relief. Xianxi's identity was safe. Qinlu said, I've already given the stone to Lord Luo and vowed to work with you. Please fulfill your promise and remove your control over me. From now on, I'm free. We don't owe each other anything. Even if we can't work together, we can keep each other's secrets. Lu Yin nodded, of course. He then looked at Wuxia. Not long after, the two extracted the Grim Reaper's seal and evil energy from Qin Li's body. After the two forces disappeared, Qin Lu immediately felt relaxed. He had taken a risk by coming to the Eternal Kingdom. Even though he was sure that Lu Yin wouldn't fight to the death, he still felt apprehensive. After all, he only had one life. Now that his control was removed, he was finally free. Lu Yin's gaze was complicated. The world was ever-changing. He had thought that he had controlled a progenitor, but it was gone in the blink of an eye. Was there really an invisible existence that prohibited certain things? He looked up at the dusky sky of the Eternal Kingdom but couldn't see anything. I want to see Mu Jun, Qinlu said. Lu Yin raised his brows. Not yet. Didn't you say that Mu Jun worked with you? Qinlu frowned. Lu Yin's lips curled up. I'm saying that she'll definitely cooperate with me and that she'll die if she doesn't. But she hasn't done so yet. Maybe after a while I'll need your help to persuade her. Qinlu was puzzled. Where is she? Are you sure you can trap her? Don't worry, you don't have to worry about that. How could Lu Yin allow Qinlu to meet Mu Jun right now? Even if the possibility of that happening wasn't high, he still had to be wary of Qinlu siding with Luo Jun. Even if the possibility of that happening was only 1 in a billion, Lu Yin still didn't want to take the risk. Qinlu did not insist. Now that they were working together, he told Lu Yin everything he knew about the three sovereigns. This discussion went on for several days. In the distance, Feng Lei Guanqin saw Qinlu. He had never thought that even the Mo Courtyard's courtyard master would side with Lu Yin, and his respect for Lu Yin grew. He didn't know that Qinlu had broken through to the monarch realm. Otherwise, he would be even more shocked. Through Qinlu, Lu Yin knew a lot about the three sovereigns. He knew about Lord Luo and Hiranha. He knew where the resources from the three sovereigns' realms were shipped to, and he also knew that the source of some of the bloody cases in the transdimensional universe was Mo Courtyard. Bai Qian had supporters in the decision-making team, but many of them had died, all at the hands of the three sovereigns' Mo Courtyard. Now that he knew the location of the transdimensional universe energy research group, Lu Yin guessed that Zijing should be there. He also knew that Lord Luo and Lord Taibai were not husband and wife. Not husband and wife? Lu Yin was shocked. The entire Six Paths gang knew that Lord Luo and Lord Taibai were husband and wife, which caused countless people to be envious. Even the Fifth Mainland knew about this. Now that he had been told that it was fake, Lu Yin was stunned. Qin Lu said, "It's unbelievable, right? But it's true. Lord Luo naturally hopes that it's true. He likes Lord Taibai, but Lord Taibai has never been with him. The reason why he maintains this relationship is for the sake of the three sovereigns' space-time, and also for Lord Taibai's own space-time. The three sovereigns were not from the three sovereigns' space-time. This space-time had been harmed by the time poison, and the original cultivation system had collapsed. On this foundation, the three sovereigns had arrived with the cultivation method of the sovereign king's qi. They had joined forces to fight against the Forgotten Ruins god and brought the three sovereigns' space-time to the height of one of the Six Paths gang. Among them there were husband and wife as well as cooperation. The Starshine space-time is now one of the 62 parallel space-times of the Endless Battlefield. Although it's a battlefield, the people inside have been transported to the three sovereigns' space-time. This is also the reason why Lord Taibai maintains a superficial relationship. In reality, no matter which space-time it is, it can't escape the war with the Eternals, Qin Lu said. Lu Yin asked, "What kind of person is Lord Taibai?" Qin Lu thought for a moment. "She's the complete opposite of Mu Jun. Mu Jun is a stubborn and overbearing person. He wants everything to be under his control. Xing Jun is too calm and doesn't fight for anything. As long as the people from the star-reflecting universe are safe, it's fine. Her talent is extremely high. Mu Jun relied on Luo Jun's help to reach the monarch realm." "What about her strength?" Lu Yin inquired. Qin Lu thought for a moment. "She's about the same as Mu Jun. It's mainly because of her personality. In the battle against the Eternals, it's always Luo Jun who rushes to the front. Lord Taibai maintains the three sovereigns' great array, and Mu Jun oversees the overall situation." Lu Yin nodded and had a general understanding of Lord Taibai. "Don't have any ideas about Lord Taibai. Unless you bring everyone in the Starshine space-time to the origin space, you won't be able to affect her," Qin Lu said as a reminder. It was mainly those people in the Starshine space-time who could affect Lord Taibai. Lu Yin didn't want Lord Taibai to do anything. She was really the kind of person, Qin Lu said, such a person was similar to the blood ancestor and he would be embarrassed to make a move. Qin Lu wanted Lu Yin to understand the three sovereigns' space-time more, but Lu Yin actually wanted to understand Luo Jun more. However, Qin Lu didn't know much about Lord Luo. "Didn't you hear that Lord Luo came out of the world of nothingness and is a legend? You don't seem to think that Lord Luo is very powerful and can't compare to Mr. Daheng?" Lu Yin asked. Qin Lu smiled bitterly. "That's fake." Lu Yin was surprised. Qin Lu said, "If you don't say that, how would the six parties care about Lord Luo? In fact, coming out of the world of nothingness was just a show by Lord Luo. Along with this show, Lord Luo collected tea leaves and gave them to the Grand Empyrean. The outside world must have said that the Grand Empyrean respected Lord Luo, right?" Lu Yin felt like his worldview had been refreshed. The world of nothingness, the respect of the Grand Empyrean, has caused the outside world to misunderstand Lord Luo. This is what the three sovereigns want. Otherwise, how could the three sovereigns' space-time become one of the six parties? Qin Lu said, "A long time ago there was a parallel space-time that was stronger than the three sovereigns' space-time. Because of Lord Luo's disguise, that parallel space-time couldn't become one of the six parties and merged into the endless battlefield. In the end, all the experts died at the hands of the Eternals. If it wasn't for Lord Luo's disguise, that space-time would have ended up like the three sovereigns' space-time." Qin Lu looked at Lu Yin. "Lord Luo is very good at disguise." "Was that so? Why did the Grand Empyrean cooperate?" "The Grand Empyrean didn't cooperate, he just didn't care." Lu Yin let Qin Lu return while he went to find Mu Jun. He still had to ask Mu Jun about Lord Luo. Mu Jun's answer was different from Qin Li's. "Disguise? How? Once you enter the world of nothingness you can't come out. Do you think this is a game? You can even go in and walk around? Giving tea leaves to the Grand Empyrean will earn him respect? Do you know how many people give tea leaves to the Grand Empyrean? All of them are extremely strong. Let me tell you, Lord Luo definitely doesn't have good intentions." Lu Yin looked at Mu Jun's unbridled mockery and was somewhat speechless. Qin Lu should not have lied to him, but this Mu Jun might have lied to him in order to make him fear Luo Jun. However, Lu Yin had seen Luo Jun in action in the Zio realm, and it had given him a vague sense of danger. Luo Jun's attacks had not been that terrifying, and at the very least they were far less mysterious than Su Wei's. Who was telling the truth? He ran, and Uncle Amo should not have lied to him, and Qinle should not have lied to him either. However, these two parties had said the exact opposite. Lu Yin left, and it was time to return to the Three Monarchs universe. After Lu Yin left, Mu Jun's expression turned ugly. Someone had betrayed him in the Three Monarchs universe, and it had definitely been someone from the upper echelon. Who could it be? Lu Yin returned to the Three Monarchs universe, and the first thing he did was to check out the passage. Mu Shang had been killed by the Corpse King, and this matter was also within the scope of the Horizon Manor's investigation. Lu Yin had not appeared for a long time, and there were already people talking about it. If he did not look at it from beginning to end, it might raise suspicions. Fortunately, Qinlu had already covered for him, saying that he was investigating a spy. As for the passage, there was no rush. It involved the power of a god, and it was not something that Xianxia could investigate. However, he still had to go. When Lu Yin returned to the Three Monarchs universe and headed to the passage, Suji told him that Yao Lan had been punished to enter the endless battlefield. The reincarnation universe caused a lot of trouble because of this matter. The disciples of the Great Stone Holy Sect believed that Yao Lan had harmed the Great Stone Holy Man, and they kept asking the new Great Stone Holy Man to uphold justice. Lotus Reverend's disciples all defended Yao Lan, saying that Qingfen had framed her. Now neither side is willing to back down. Lotus Reverend has punished Yao Lan to enter the endless battlefield, which is equivalent to admitting to this matter. The Great Stone Holy Sect is even angrier. And your side has also angered many of Lotus Reverend's disciples. After all, Yao Lan had unintentionally revealed the Great Stone Holy Man's whereabouts, and it was not intentional. Otherwise, Lotus Reverend would not have punished her like this. Many of them have threatened to make you pay the price. Lu Yin was calm. They were right. He had done it on purpose. If he did not cause a disturbance, how would he be able to spread his name? How would he be able to cause trouble in the reincarnation universe in the future? The Shaoyin divinity had exiled the Lu family, and the reincarnation universe had treated the primordial space badly. He had many things to do. Thank you, Mr. Jin's tomorrow. Thank you for your support, brothers. I'll add more chapters, thank you. Chapter 2664. Let them be. Although there are many disciples of Venerable Lotus, as long as I don't betray humanity, they have nothing to do with me. On the contrary, they should be worried about being captured by me. Lu Yin looked at Su Ji and smiled. Believe it or not, Qing Feng isn't the only disciple of Venerable Lotus. Su Ji's expression changed and he stared at Lu Yin in shock. This person was truly fearless and dared to say anything. If any of Venerable Lotus disciples heard this, it would attract a bunch of enemies. It's a pity that I can't openly question Yao Lan, Lu Yin said as they arrived at the tunnel ahead. Su Ji's face twitched as he really wanted to openly question Yao Lan. She was a publicly acknowledged demi-saint, but he had never seen her so ruthless in six-direction training rites. This trip to the tunnel was just for show, and Lu Yin couldn't possibly find anything here. Actually, he could find out where Mu Shang had died, but that place might attract Luo Jun's attention. He wasn't confident that he could hide his appearance in front of Luo Jun, and Luo Jun should have seen his face before. If they met face to face, they would be exposed. Thus, this trip was destined to end in failure. Lu Yin had originally planned to go through the motions, but he had not expected to meet someone unexpected here. Celestial Sovereign. The astral river was like a mirror, and her bare face was even more beautiful than makeup. The entire astral river fell silent the moment they saw Celestial Sovereign. It was a kind of spiritual peace that was difficult to describe, but if one had to describe it, it would be a kind of thirst-quenching. Lu Yin looked at the distant Celestial Sovereign who was lost in thought, and he felt like he was quenching his thirst in summer. It was a very comfortable feeling. Songbai greets Lord Celestial Sovereign. Songbai hurriedly stepped forward to greet Lu Yin. The tunnel was surrounded by the three sovereign space-time cultivators, but no one dared to raise their heads in front of Celestial Sovereign. Lu Yin was the only exception and he stared straight at her. Celestial Sovereign turned to look at Lu Yin, and the two exchanged glances. You're Xianxia. Lu Yin reacted and bowed. Xianxia greets the Star Lord. He was apprehensive as he did not know if this Star Lord could see through his death mask disguise. She probably could not, and if he was not mistaken, her strength was comparable to Su Wuwei's. She definitely could not reach Su Wuwei's level. Only someone at that level could see through his disguise. But if she could see through it, then it meant that he had to hide his strength. Are you here to investigate the appearance of godly energy? Lu Yin respectfully replied, yes. This is a dereliction of duty on my part as I allowed the Corpse King to run amok. This junior is responsible. Lord Taibai Jinxing retracted his gaze. It's not your fault. Even if Sister Mu is still here, she can't do anything about it. Lu Yin didn't know if he should investigate, but he decided to wait until Taibai Jinxing left before doing so. He raised his head and looked at Star Sovereign again. What he saw was her side profile. This woman could not be considered too beautiful, but she gave him a sense of security. In the starry sky of the universe, everyone was themselves. There were no two identical leaves and there were no two identical people. Even Progenitor Chen's 9 clones had his own thoughts. The Star Sovereign was different from all the other women he had met. She was like a calm, peaceful lake without any wind or waves. Can you do me a favor? Lord Taibai Jinxing suddenly spoke up and looked at Lu Yin again. Lu Yin was astonished. Please tell me, Senior. If Qingfen is no longer of any value to you, give him to me. Lu Yin was stunned as he had not expected her to say such a thing. Everyone else had heard it as well, and Lord Taibai Jinxing had not concealed anything. Lu Yin did not know what they were thinking, but perhaps he knew Lu Yin did not know what kind of person Lord Taibai Jinxing was, but the feeling she gave him was completely different from what she had said. Senior, why do you want Qingfen? Lu Yin did not understand. Lord Taibai Jinxing just looked at him and did not answer. Lu Yin met her gaze and he looked into her calm eyes without any fear. This junior is not trying to pry into anything, but Qingfen is still a spy and he is involved with the shaman spirit god. He is extremely important, and if there is no special reason, even we would not deal with him on our own. He is still useful to us, so it would be unreasonable for Senior to ask for him. Songbai's heart trembled. How ruthless. No one in the 3 sovereign spacetimes had dared to speak to Lord Taibai Jinxing in such a manner. Even Mu Jun and Lord Luo had been polite when speaking to her. Many people around them subconsciously glanced at Lu Yin. The universe was silent as Lord Taibai Jinxing continued to stare at Lu Yin. Lu Yin stared back fearlessly. Must you explain? Lord Taibai Jinxing asked, her tone as calm as ever. Lu Yin persisted. Must. I like his voice, Lord Taibai Jinxing explained, which was beyond Lu Yin's expectations. Generally speaking, such an extreme powerhouse would not be able to explain herself so easily when questioned in such a firm manner. However, she had still managed to explain herself in such a calm manner. Lu Yin did not understand. Just his voice. Lord Taibai Jinxing asked, have you heard his voice before? Yes. Then why are you asking? Lu Yin was stunned. To be honest, Qingfen's voice was perfect and it could even stir up his thoughts. Even Venerate Lotus had invited him to listen to it several times. However, asking for a spy like Qingfen just because of his voice seemed unreasonable. He still wanted to ask more questions, but Lord Taibai Jinxing had already left. She did not wait for him to answer as if she did not need him to. Lu Yin could not understand this woman and he recalled Qin Li's words. This woman was willing to publicly acknowledge Lord Luo as her husband for the sake of her own spacetime. For such a powerhouse she had sacrificed a lot. Then was she essentially the same type of person as Qingfen? Qingfen had preserved his hometown and no matter what those people thought, he had trapped them forever in that small world. Then what about Lord Taibai Jinxing? Acting Academy Master, do you still want to investigate? Songbai asked, startling Lu Yin. Lu Yin asked, what kind of person is Lord Taibai Jinxing? Songbai's face paled. Acting Academy Master, we do not dare to talk about Lord Taibai Jinxing. Please do not ask such questions again as no one can answer you. Lu Yin was helpless. Then tell me, is Lord Taibai Jinxing angry at me? Songbai's face twitched. We do not dare to talk about Lord Taibai Jinxing. Lu Yin looked at her. Lord Luo asked you to follow me, but you did not seem to be of any use. Songbai was speechless. How could this be blamed on him? Lu Yin pretended to investigate for a bit before leaving. This involved divine power and no matter how he looked at it, It was not within the scope of his investigation. Elsewhere at the Rainbow Wall, Lord Taibai Jinxing had returned. Luo Jun had been waiting for her for a long time, and when he saw her return he gently asked, "How was it?" She was calm. "I couldn't see anything. My divine power has disappeared without a trace." Luo Jun nodded. "It's normal." He then looked at Lord Taibai Jinxing's back as she faced outside the Rainbow Wall with a complicated expression. He had waited for this woman for so many years, but he still had not been able to obtain her heart. A fake was still a fake. "I heard that you asked for Qing Feng from Heaven's Reflection Hall?" Luo Jun asked. Taibai Jinxing's back was facing him as he said indifferently, "Yes." "How was it?" Luo Jun asked. Taibai Jinxing asked, "Don't you already know?" Luo Jun's tone was gentle. "I'll ask for it for you. I'll definitely get it." She was calm. "That's my business. Qing Feng is still a spy." "I know." Luo Jun helplessly looked at her back, not knowing what to say. This woman was always like this. Although she was not as prickly as a hedgehog, she still wrapped herself up tightly. Even after so many years he had not been able to open a single gap. "I'm leaving." She did not say anything. Instead she calmly looked into the distance. A gentle breeze blew past, causing her hair to flutter. A few days later Ku Jian found Lu Yin and informed him that there had been an accident with the home of the gods. "Zijing can't go?" Lu Yin was astonished, as this was the accident that Ku Jian had told him about. When the deal had been made with the home of the gods, it had been clearly stated that the home of the gods would only trade with Zijing and not Ku Jian. Zijing had to be present at the site of the deal, but she had not been present. Ku Jian had gone to the home of the gods, but the deal had not been successful. Ku Jian was furious. "If not for you, Xianxia, I would not have been so courteous to the home of the gods." Lu Yin frowned. "Senior, don't underestimate the home of the gods. On the surface they don't seem to have many experts, but they have a very deep foundation. Their ability to create something out of nothing comes from an extreme powerhouse, and that extreme powerhouse must have left behind a backup plan. When the sixth mainland attacked the fifth, that extreme powerhouse known as the symbol progenitor covered the heavens and prevented the experts from displaying their full power. This led to the sixth mainland's defeat, and one of their powerhouses almost died. If you don't believe me, you can check the fifth mainland." Ku Jian was apprehensive. "Something like that happened?" Lu Yin nodded. "The symbol progenitor's methods are unimaginable. Senior, how did you feel when you first came into contact with Void God's power?" The symbol progenitor's methods are similar to Void God's power. Although the nature of their powers is different, they are both unfathomable. Furthermore, that's the fifth mainland. Once Senior takes action, there's no guarantee that the home of the gods won't be able to find someone who can fight against Senior. It would be troublesome if the above heaven sect was drawn out. Ku Jian said, "That's why I didn't do anything to them. Xianxia, you were the one who requested the deal with Zijing and—" He suddenly paused, feeling a little awkward. Zijing's presence had been Lu Yin's request to ensure Zijing's status. But now the hyperspace organization wanted to bypass Zijing and make the deal directly, which was the same as bypassing Lu Yin. This was not something to be proud of. It would have been fine if the hyperspace organization had done it behind his back. But now the hyperspace organization had actually said it in front of Lu Yin, which put Ku Jian in an awkward position. Lu Yin lowered his voice. "Senior, please continue." Ku Jian's expression turned ugly. "Xianxia, it's not that we don't want to bring Zijing along, but she can't go right now." Lu Yin's heart skipped a beat. "What's wrong with Zijing?" Ku Jian replied, "Don't worry, Zijing is fine. It's just that the cultivation technique she's involved in is too important, and no one is allowed to communicate with the outside world, let alone speak of it. That's why we can't bring her along for the deal. Please understand." If this had been the first time they had met, then there would have been no need for Ku Jian to speak to Lu Yin in such a manner. However, things were different now. Lu Yin's status was extremely high, and he had multiple powerhouses backing him. Ku Jian could no longer afford to offend Lu Yin, and even he had to speak to Lu Yin courteously. "Hasn't Zijing always been researching important cultivation techniques? Why are you keeping it a secret now?" Lu Yin did not understand. Could it be that the research on the sequence particles had reached a breakthrough? Chapter 2665. Ku Jian was unable to answer, so he could only say, In short, Zijing can't meet anyone right now, but I promise you that she'll be fine. Even if you don't believe us, you should believe in yourself. Lord Hiran has to consider your influence and you're his little brother. Lu Yin sighed. I know. Ku Jian continued, don't worry, Xianxia. When you see Zijing again, she'll be completely different. She'll shock you enough. That's all I can say. I don't even know where she is. Lady Hiran told me all this. Lu Yin was helpless. I understand. But Zijing can't meet anyone right now, right? Ku Jian nodded. Senior, do you want me to talk to the home of the gods and let them continue the trade? Lu Yin asked. Ku Jian replied, there's no need for that. Although the primordial space is rich in resources, it'll attract too much attention. We don't want to attract anyone's attention right now, so I hope that you can contact the Scenic Cloud clan. It would be best if you could also contact the Void Yang and Void Yin clans to buy resources from the Void God spacetime. With your influence in the Void God spacetime, this should be easy. Does the Void God spacetime have all the resources you need? Some of them, but we can figure out how to get the rest ourselves. Lu Yin knew that the three monarch spacetimes had always sold resources to hyperdrive, and now that the Void God spacetime also had some, they should be able to gather enough resources. Right, I understand. Don't worry, Senior. Ku Jian heaved a sigh of relief. Thank you. After Ku Jian left, Lu Yin thought about it for a long time, but he still felt that he had to meet Zijing no matter what. At the very least, he had to know how she was doing. When he had first arrived at the Six Direction Society, he had been called Senior everywhere. Now it was time for them to recognize him again. The next day, Lu Yin went to hyperdrive and found Ku Jian, asking him to bring him to Hiran. Ku Jian was confused. You want to see Lady Hiran? Lu Yin nodded. Ku Jian wanted to ask what was going on, but after some thought he decided against it. No matter what, he still called Hiran's sister Ran, and this wasn't a relationship that he could casually ask about. Ku Jian brought Lu Yin to see Hiran, and she was very happy that Lu Yin had come looking for her. Are you in trouble? Tell me, I'll definitely help you. Lu Yin was vexed. Sister, I miss Zijing. Ku Jian's expression changed. Hiran was also stunned. Yesterday she got a report from Ku Jian that Xianxia agreed to contact the virtual god universe, and he didn't ask much about Zijing. She thought it was over, but she didn't expect him to come in person so soon. Ku Jian bowed. Sir, didn't you tell little brother Xianxia about Zijing? Hiran asked calmly. It was impossible to tell if she was happy or angry. Ku Jian hurriedly replied, I already told you. He then looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin smiled and replied, Big Sis Ran, Senior. Ku Jian already mentioned it, but after thinking about it for a long time, I feel that I should still meet Zijing. After all, she's my woman, and meeting her will make me feel at ease. Hiran smiled faintly. Little brother, the cultivation technique that Zijing is currently researching is very important, so she really can't go out. Otherwise, we wouldn't have given up on such a huge amount of resources in the origin space and purchased them from the Void God universe. Do you know that this will cause us a lot of trouble and make it easier for people with ulterior motives to target us? Even so, Zijing can't go out. He looked up at Hiran with a resolute gaze. Sister Ran, is Zijing dead or alive? Hiran's expression changed slightly. Ku Jian shouted, How dare you, Xianxia? Uncle Imo walked out and looked at Lu Yin sternly. There was a moment of silence. Hiran and Lu Yin looked at each other and saw the coldness in each other's eyes. This was the first time that Lu Yin had shown off his strength in front of Hiran, and she felt that he was a stranger. She had seen this person many times, but the deepest impression she had of him was that he had boldly looked at her for the first time. If not for Bai Qian's appearance, this person would not have had a future. Since then, this person had been respectful and obedient, which made her feel very comfortable. She had even forgotten about his unbridled arrogance at the beginning. Even if this person had the backing of several extreme powerhouses, he still had to call her Big Sis Ran whenever he saw her and would not go against her wishes. The Sixth Direction training rites also had a very good opinion of him. But this time Hiran felt like a stranger. She thought back to the first time they had met, and it seemed like this was the real Xianxia. Ku Jian looked at Lu Yin with a strange gaze. Uncle Imo also stared at Lu Yin. He wanted to suppress him, but he was also afraid. Even an extreme powerhouse like him was afraid of Lu Yin. Hiran's position in the Transcendence universe was extraordinary, but how could Xianxia not be the same in the Void God universe? After a long silence, Ran spoke first with a smile. Little brother, you're thinking too much. Lu Yin continued to look at Ran. Then let me see Zijing. Big sis Ran, I'm very worried about her. Ran smiled, her perfect face dazzling Lu Yin. He remembered Bai Qian's words. Profane her, just profane her. Zijing is so lucky to have such an infatuated person like you care about her. Alright, let her come out this time. Lu Yin was grateful. Thank you, big sis Ran. Go to the Fenghua Mound and wait for me. I'll have Uncle Imo bring her here. Ran said and had Ku Jian bring Lu Yin to the Fenghua Mound. After Lu Yin left, Ran's face sank and her eyes were filled with anger. Who in the Sixth Direction Society dares to speak to me like that? Who dares to question me? If not for me, he would have died in the stomach of a giant beast. Uncle Mo's face was gloomy. My lady, this kid is not mature. Ran's gaze turned cold. If it had been anyone else, they would have already died. However, this was Xianxia, someone who had the backing of several powerhouses. He was currently a popular person in the Void God space, and even she couldn't do anything about him. Uncle Imo, spread the news that this Xianxia was the one who sold the information to Lord Luo, Ran said. Uncle Mo's eyes brightened. My lady is wise. This kid is from the Heaven's Reflection Manor, let the Yu family deal with him. Ran said, consider it a lesson. He really thinks that he's strong enough to care about everyone. Don't forget your origins. As long as I'm willing, I can reveal that he's from the Genesis space and he'll have nothing. Uncle Imo hurriedly stopped her. My lady, you can't do that. Zijing will be in trouble if you do that. I know. Ran's words were spoken in a fit of anger. Although doing this would cause Lu Yin to suffer, it would also cause her to suffer. Right now, they were both using each other, and keeping each other in check was the safest way. Just you wait. Once I've successfully cultivated this technique, I'll rewrite the history of the Sixth Direction Society. In the Fenghua Mound, Ku Jian brought Lu Yin over and left without saying a word. From the moment Lu Yin and Ran confronted each other, it was impossible for the two to return to their previous relationship. The Fenghua Mound was a beautiful place and Ran had put in a lot of effort. Lu Yin sat by the lakeside and waited for several days before Zijing finally arrived. Along with Uncle Imo, the cultivation technique is related to the transcendent space. Please don't mind it, Uncle Imo said. Lu Yin nodded and smiled. Thank you for your hard work, Uncle Imo. Uncle Mo grunted and stood to the side, not even looking at the two. Lu Yin looked at Zijing and asked with concern, how are you? Zijing smiled. I'm fine, don't worry. Lu Yin relaxed. That's good. I heard from Uncle Imo that you went against Lady Ran just to see me? You're too impulsive, Zijing reprimanded. Lu Yin quickly looked at Uncle Imo. Sorry, Uncle Imo. I'll personally apologize to Sister He later. Uncle Imo nodded with a smile and didn't say anything. Following that, Lu Yin and Zijing talked about how much they had missed each other. Lu Yin talked a lot about capturing the spies, but Zijing didn't say much. She didn't mention anything about the sequence particles and the different space-time flow, but Lu Yin knew. The two had their own password to prevent others from spying on them. Through their conversation, Lu Yin knew that the research on the sequence particle had reached a critical stage. He was shocked to learn that the transcendent space had a different time flow. The first person he thought of was Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen had said that the flow of time in some parallel spaces was completely different. It was possible that he'd been to such a parallel space and had reached his level at such a young age. The rabbit he was chasing had been there as well. He, the rabbit, and his father all seemed to have the ability to travel through parallel spaces at will. Originally, Lu Yin had almost forgotten about this matter, but now that hyperspace had mastered a similar parallel universe, he remembered it. Only then did he remember how important Jiang Chen had been talking about. He decided to wait for Jiang Chen on Earth and dig out his secrets. The two chatted for half a day before Zijing was taken away by Uncle Imo. Lu Yin also went to see Ran. I'm sorry, Sister Ran. I shouldn't have doubted you, Lu Yin said apologetically. Ran sighed. It can't be helped. That's how relationships are. Zijing is the most important person in your heart, little brother. Lu Yin smiled wryly. Sister Ran is just as important to me, really. Alright, I believe you. Ran was very happy. Zijing's research on cultivation has reached a critical stage. No one can disturb her, so you won't be able to see her for a while. I'm not worried about that now. Please take care of her, Sister Ran. Ran smiled. At this moment Ku Jian arrived. "Milord, Lord He Shu and Shao Qingfeng request an audience." He Ran was surprised. "Why are they here?" "I'll be leaving first, Sister Ran," Lu Yin said. "Don't worry about it. You've all interacted at the Six Paths training rites before, so you're one of us. Little Shu also wants to see you." Ku Jian soon arrived with He Shu and Shao Qingfeng. The two were shocked to see Lu Yin. "Brother Xianxia, I didn't expect you to be here." He Shu was surprised. Shao Qingfeng was dressed in golden robes and looked at Lu Yin with a complicated gaze. This person's reputation was boundless. He had broken through the void trials, captured spies, and even fought against Reverend Lotus' disciple. Lu Yin smiled. "Long time no see. I wanted to look for you, but I didn't expect to see you here. Brother Xianxia, may I join the Heaven's Mirror Manor?" He Shu asked. Lu Yin was surprised. "You want to join the Heaven's Mirror Manor?" He Ran was surprised as well. "Little Shu, you want to join the Heaven's Mirror Manor?" He Shu replied, "Spies have caused too much damage to the human race. After seeing Brother Xianxi's ability to capture spies, I want to give it a try." Lu Yin smiled. "Sure, the Heaven's Mirror Manor welcomes you." After exchanging a few more words, Lu Yin bade farewell. "Thank you, brothers, for your support. I've been updating for 3 consecutive days, but I need to take a break. There's still more than a month before the baby is born. Your support is the greatest blessing for Windborn." Chapter 2666. After Xianxia left, He Shu asked, "Sis, why is Xianxia here?" He Ran didn't answer and instead looked at Shao Qingfeng. "Did Chu Jian send you?" Shao Qingfeng replied, "Shao Zun doesn't want anything to happen to Bai Qian." He Shu's expression changed and he stared at Shao Qingfeng. "What do you mean? That wasn't what you said before. Are you threatening my sister?" Uncle Mo's expression didn't change. If Lu Yin had been the one to say such a thing, he would have suppressed him, but since it had come from Shao Qingfeng, which meant that it was the perfect Shao Zun, He Ran wasn't angry either. "Little Shu, wait for Qingfeng to finish." Shao Qingfeng looked at He Ran. "Shao Zun wishes for a complete Bai Qian both physically and spiritually. I hope that Sister Ran can give him some face and not hurt her too much." He Ran smiled, causing Shao Qingfeng's heart to race. This woman's beauty was just like Shao Zun's strength. They were both perfect. Unfortunately, even though he was Shao Yin's disciple, he couldn't have such delusions. However, it had to be said that every time he saw this woman, he found it hard to control himself. "Chu Jian is making things difficult for me. If I don't hurt Bai Qian, how can I win?" He Ran asked. Shao Qingfeng forced himself to look away. "Shao Zun can help Sister Ran as long as Sister Ran needs it." He Ran propped up her chin, seemingly lost in thought. Nobody disturbed her and she waited quietly. "I have a way. As long as Chu Jian can do it, I won't have to fight with Bai Qian, and I can guarantee that she won't be hurt at all." He Ran smiled at Shao Qingfeng. Shao Qingfeng looked up. "Please speak." He Ran's lips curled up in a mesmerizing smile, stunning Shao Qingfeng. "Chu Jian can do it himself. Find Bai Qian." Shao Qingfeng didn't understand and he looked at He Ran in confusion. He Ran smiled. "Blasphemy." Shao Qingfeng's expression changed. "Sister Ran, are you saying?" He Ran made a shushing gesture. Neither Uncle Mo nor He Shu had seen such a mischievous gesture before, and it made her seem even more beautiful. "You should understand. Go back and tell Chu Jian that I've already given him the method, and that whether he can do it or not is his own business. If he can't do it, then don't ask me to do it. Even if he's a perfect, he's still a Shao Zun. Don't be too domineering or no one will like you." Ran, he ran ran. Ran I she nod. He Ran nodded and watched Shao Qingfeng leave. He's use. She. He Shu was unwilling to accept this. Everyone knew that he liked Bai Qian, and he had even quarreled with He Ran before. Now He Ran had actually allowed that Shao Zun to profane Bai Qian. He Ran said in a low voice, "I don't care what you think. Bai Qian can't stay in the hyperspace. Even if she doesn't belong to Shao Zun, she still has to die. She can never be yours. Little Shu, listen to me clearly." After saying that, she let He Shu leave. Is. "Once he finds out your side," He Ran said, "won't be found out. I know exactly when to say what." This is the fastest and most effective method. First, this person is too domineering. He really thinks that everyone should. He's like a grand empyrean. Rumor has it that one of the 3 sovereigns is reserved for this young sovereign. He'll definitely replace one of them, Uncle Imo said. That's why many people are afraid of him, but that's a matter of the reincarnation spacetime. Even if he becomes a sovereign, the 3 sovereigns aren't to be trifled with. Even the one that the Grand Empyrean dislikes the most is publicly recognized as the leader of the 3 sovereigns. He won't be easy to deal with, and it has nothing to do with us. Even if First Jian becomes one of the 3 sovereigns, it won't affect us. Once the research on the sequence particle is completed, who cares about the 3 sovereigns and 9 sages? Uncle Imo vigilantly released his energy to prevent others from hearing. I'm going to rest. Hiran was exhausted. Uncle Imo disappeared. Fairies danced among the petals on the stairs. It was a beautiful and dreamy scene. After Luyin left, he didn't go to the Zio realm or the 3 sovereigns spacetime. Instead, he went to a secret place and brought Luo Lauer with him. Everyone in the hyperspace was being monitored, but thanks to Yufeng, Luyin knew where it was safe and where it could be monitored. With his strength, he could escape even if he was being monitored, but doing so would alert the hyperspace, so it wasn't worth it. Contact that person. I want to buy information, Luyin said. That person had betrayed Luo Lauer and bought information from Luo Jun, causing Luo Jun to go to war with the Yu family. Not counting Luyin, Luo Lauer had been betrayed by that person. Now he could contact that person again. They didn't talk about that matter. Luo Lauer had his own needs, and the other party also had a need to sell information. It was just a matter of whose methods were better. I want to buy information on Luo Jun, Luyin said. He still didn't know what Luo Jun was like. Qin Lu, Uncle Imo and Mu Jun had all said different things. If he wanted to make a move on the 3 sovereigns spacetime, he naturally had to understand Luo Jun. On the other side, under the dim light, a tired person looked at the screen. This Luo Lauer still wants to buy information. There's no way he doesn't know that I've betrayed him. It seems like the information he's buying is really important. He continued reading. Buying information on Luo Jun? Is he trying to turn the tables on Luo Jun? It should be the person behind Luo Lauer. He kept looking for Luo Lauer's location. He's not in the Zio realm anymore. That's meaningless. It seems like he's much more cautious. Fine, I'll just treat it as a normal transaction. But why would I have information on Luo Jun? Not long after, Luo Lauer received a message. Brother-in-law, he only has information about the hyperspace. He doesn't have information about anything outside of the hyperspace. Luyin was disappointed. Even though he wanted to find out who this person was, information on Luo Jun was also very important. It was a pity that he didn't have any information. I want to buy information on Zijing, Luyin continued. Luo Lauer contacted the other party. On the other side, the person frowned and was rather irritated. Zijing's location? I'm also looking into it. Why is everyone forcing me to look into this? I want to know everything. He replied. Luo Lauer was helpless. Brother-in-law, he doesn't know. How can he not know anything? Luyin was dissatisfied. Luo Lauer sent this message over at the same time. The person on the other side gritted his teeth but couldn't refute. Sure, he couldn't be blamed. Zijing's location was now a secret of the entire hyperspace. How could he find out? As for Luo Jun's matter, it didn't even belong to the hyperspace. He really wanted to refute, but he held himself back. On the other side, Luyin said, tell him to find out why Xiao Qingfeng was looking for Hiran today. His goal. Luo Lauer was just about to send the message over when he suddenly paused. Brother-in-law, won't that expose your identity? It's fine, Kujian knows about it too. Plus, they didn't hide their tracks. Many people saw them, Luyin said. Since he wanted to investigate, he naturally had to think about this. Not long after, 3 words came from the other side. Not found. Curses continuously rang out from the dark space. Who is this Luo Lauer working for? He's definitely not an ordinary person to know that Xiao Qingfeng was looking for Hiran so quickly. He must be from the Yu family. Only the Yu family has this ability in the hyperspace, or is it someone else? I need to find out who went to Hiran's place, but that place is very difficult to find. Luo Lauer mocked again. The person on the other side was furious. That bastard isn't taking revenge, is he? On the other side, Luyin frowned. Let him investigate Xianxia. Luo Lauer was shocked. Investigate yourself? See how much he knows about me. The more detailed the better. Infuriate him, Lu Yin said. Luo Lauer nodded. Understood. He then began to discuss the deal. When the person on the other side saw that he wanted to investigate Xianxia, he heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, there was someone who could be investigated. He told Luo Lauer to wait. Luo Lauer said to Lu Yin, he said that he can investigate but he can only find out about Xianxia in the hyperspace. He promises to be absolutely detailed. Lu Yin nodded and waited quietly. An hour later, the information regarding Xianxia appeared in front of Lu Yin. He skimmed through it and found that it was indeed very detailed. There was even information about him being thrown into the Colosseum when he first appeared. The information about his time in the drifting cloud space was also very detailed, and there was even information about him at the Hexway training hall. This person had worked hard to prove his abilities. Suddenly, Lu Yin's eyes trembled as he saw a piece of information. Xianxia met with Zijing at the Hexway training hall. Lu Yin's eyes flashed as he recalled the details of his meeting with Zijing. If he remembered correctly, Zijing had just made some progress in her research on the sequence particle that he ran had rewarded her. Only a few people knew that Zijing had gone to the Hexway training hall to meet him. This wasn't something that could be found through the analysis of the information. From then on, Zijing's whereabouts had been kept a secret, and it was impossible for outsiders to find out. It was even more impossible for someone to find out that she had met with him at the Hexway training hall. The only possibility was that this person had been able to get close to Zijing and even converse with her. Was he also from the energy research team? It wasn't impossible. What do you think this person's identity is in the hyperspace training hall? What's the most likely identity? Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer thought about it. Based on my understanding of the hyperspace training hall, to be able to gather so much information, they either have a high status like the Yu family who can monitor the entire hyperspace training hall, or they have the technology or their job is to monitor the hyperspace training hall. However, the possibility of the latter is very low. Those people are strictly monitored by others, so it's impossible for them to sell information. The Yu family is a behemoth that can monitor the hyperspace training hall, so there's no need for them to sell information in such a way. The most likely possibility is that they have the technology to use the hyperspace training hall's surveillance network. Lu Yin raised his head and looked at the sky. Technology? In the hyperspace training hall, the most talented people in the hyperspace training hall were probably with Zijing. Research on the sequence particle was the most important field in the hyperspace training hall, and all the talents in the hyperspace training hall were gathered there. It was very likely that this person was with Zijing, but they hadn't gone to the parallel universe where the flow of time was different. Chapter 2667. It seemed like it was time to go to the place where Zijing had researched the sequence particles. Lu Yin knew the location through Qinlu, and it seemed like Lu Yin was still being held captive there. At that moment someone contacted him. He opened the cloud connection stone and a screen appeared. It was Zuiyu. Xiawu sent me a name by Qian. Zuiyu sent a message. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold. Ever since he had saved Xiawu and allowed him to return to Hishu's side, Xiawu had sent some information to Zuiyu from time to time. Zuiyu had also sent some to Lu Yin when he arrived in the hyperspace. Lu Yin didn't mind. Xiawu didn't know what information was useful to him, so he would send whatever he thought was important. He had wanted Zuiyu to remind Xiawu not to send any more information to prevent Hishu from finding out. Xiawu wasn't that important and Lu Yin had only saved him out of pity. Keeping him by Hishu's side was a habit of his. However, the information he received this time made Lu Yin realize that his unintentional actions had paid off greatly. He sent Luo Lauer back and used the wireless goo to contact Bai Qian. The wireless goo was very useful in the Six Directions Association. Although it couldn't transmit information through parallel spacetime, it could be transmitted through the same spacetime. This was a method that only the Above Heaven sect could use to transmit information. This was the first time Lu Yin had contacted Bai Qian in the hyperspace. Bai Qian looked at the wireless goo's changing password and was rather surprised. This was the first time she had used it after learning how to use it from Lu Yin. "What's your relationship with the Earth sect?" Lu Yin asked. Bai Qian replied, "There are very few people in the decision-making team who can support me. My people in Hishu's circle sent me two names, Earth Sect and Bai Qian." Bai Qian was surprised. "You're monitoring Hishu. Sort of. 2 names, nothing much. I'll be heading to the Earth sect in 3 days to discuss recruiting a member of the decision-making team. Either he knows about your meeting and wants to ruin it, or there's something wrong with the Earth sect. What can I do? Bai Qian replied, use your own methods to ruin this meeting. Regardless of which guess it was, this meeting couldn't be carried out. After all, He Shu had already targeted him, which was the same as being targeted by He Ran. Lu Yin kept the wireless goo and recalled the scene of Shao Qingfeng and He Shu meeting He Ran today. Could this matter be related to Shao Qingfeng? Thinking about it, it did not seem very likely. How could Shao Qingfeng interfere with ultra-spacetime's matters? He did not have the qualifications to interfere. Was he going to sabotage the meeting in his own way? Lu Yin's greatest advantage right now was the Heaven's Mirror Manor. 2 days later, Lu Yin led Suji Guanlaoda and the others to a planet called Lucky Star. They landed on the planet and headed straight for Tuk's family. Lu Yin had the authority to mobilize the people from the Ultra-Spacetime Horizon Manor, and of course they were all from the Yu family. The cultivators of the Heaven's Reflection House surrounded the Tuk family, and Shuk Jixing Tuku was one of the members of the decision-making team and had a very high status in transdimensional. Jixing was famous in transdimensional because of him. Now there were actually people surrounding Tuk's family. Putting aside Tuk, Jixing would not agree. Without saying a word, the defense on Jixing's body directly bombarded it. Guan Laoda used his virtual god power to suppress Jixing easily. How could the power of a mere planet suppress their boss, who was at the peak of the void luminous realm? White energy soared into the sky from the Tuk family's residence. Lu Yin raised a brow as Tuku was the only person in the decision-making team who supported Bai Qian. Lu Yin was afraid of He Ran's methods because he had the ability to use white energy, which meant that he was a half-ancestor. A half-ancestor was not weak, and even He Ran could not easily deal with one. The white energy shot towards Guan Laoda. Guan Laoda's expression turned solemn beneath the white clouds. He had the power of a half-ancestor, and he immediately used his virtual god power, which was several times greater than his own. He could temporarily block the attack. Guan Laoda was only a step away from becoming a half-ancestor, and he could use several times his own virtual god power to resist Tuku, who only used pure energy. One used virtual god power while the other used pure energy. In Lu Yin's opinion, these two were the weakest progenitors, and any half-ancestor from the Fifth Mainland could defeat them. However, if Guan Laoda broke through to the half-ancestor level, then things would be different. His virtual god power alone would be able to suppress many half-ancestors. Who are you people? How dare you attack me? A middle-aged man shouted. His gaze was fierce, like that of a furious beast. This person was Tuku. Guan Laoda stared at Tuku. Heaven's Mirror Manor. Tuku was shocked and retracted his hand, causing the white energy to dissipate. You're from the Heaven's Mirror Manor? Countless people watched from afar, afraid that they would be affected by the battle. Lu Yin stepped forward. Heaven's Mirror Manor's acting manor head Xianxia. Senior Tuku, nice to meet you. Tuku looked at Lu Yin. You're Xianxia? What are you doing here? Lu Yin smiled. What do you think of the Heaven's Mirror Manor's work? You suspect that I'm a spy? Tuku was furious. Lu Yin shrugged. It's just a suspicion. Senior, it's best that you don't resist. Let us investigate. Impudent. I'm a member of the decision-making team. How dare you frame me? Tuku raged. Guan Laoda barked. The Heaven's Mirror Manor has the duty to investigate anyone who is suspected of being a spy. Anyone who resists will be treated as a spy, and they will be killed without mercy. Tuku was so angry that he laughed. What a joke. You're the acting manor head of the Heaven's Mirror Manor, while the manor head of my ultra-space dimension manor is Lord Yufeng. I didn't say anything when Lord Yufeng investigated me, so how can you rely on yourself, Xianxia? Get lost. Everyone knows what happened to Tuing. If you don't have any evidence, then don't bother me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Tuing was also a member of the decision-making team, but because he had been suspected of being a spy, he had been taken to the Zio realm for investigation. Even though there had been no evidence to prove that he was a spy, he had still been kicked out of the decision-making team. If Tuku had been investigated today, then He Ran might have been able to use this against him and kick him out of the decision-making team. This was not something that Lu Yin wanted to see. He wasn't sure if Tuku truly supported Bai Qian, But if the only person who supported Bai Qian was kicked out because of Xie Wu's name, then the losses would outweigh the gains. It seems like Senior Tuku won't cooperate. Fine, we'll just wait. The Ultra Space Dimension Manor, the Three Sovereigns and the Heaven's Mirror Manor are all investigating. Actually, I don't want Senior to be a spy, but I hope that Senior won't leave, Lu Yin said. Only then did Tuku's expression lighten up. He had been afraid that the Heaven's Mirror Manor would forcefully search his house, which would make it difficult to explain himself. Now was the perfect time for him to wait. As long as there was no evidence and he had not been taken away for investigation, no one would be able to touch him. Xianxi's investigation and Yu Feng's investigation were two different concepts. The reason why he kicked Tuing away was most likely because Tuing had been taken away by the Yu clan. It was very likely that he was no longer one of her people. Lu Yin had achieved his goal, so he just had to wait. Bai Qian definitely wouldn't be able to come tomorrow. As for the result, it would depend on who was more anxious. The next day, Bai Qian was supposed to meet with Tuku. On the auspicious day, Yishu arrived on Lucky Planet. Lu Yin was surprised but not surprised. When he saw Yishu appear, Lu Yin's expression did not change. "Why are you here?" Yishu replied, "Let me take a look." "Brother Xianxia, are you sure that Tuku is a spy?" Lu Yin softly replied, "Of course not. He's just looking for trouble." Yishu was stunned. "Looking for trouble? Why?" Lu Yin coldly replied, "This person openly supports Bai Qian. Shouldn't he be looking for trouble?" Yishu stared at Lu Yin blankly. "You're surrounding Tuku's family because of this?" Lu Yin pulled Yishu to the side and whispered, "You know that I offended Sister Ran a few days ago and my tone wasn't very nice. She's probably angry, so I'm thinking of ways to make up for it. I heard that this Tuku supports Bai Qian. Isn't Sister Ran's greatest enemy Bai Qian? So if I'm looking for trouble with him, it's best if I have a reason to get Sister Ran to kick him out of the decision-making team. Can be considered as helping Sister Ran." Yishu was stunned and he looked at Lu Yin with an indescribable gaze. "What's with that look?" Lu Yin was puzzled. Yishu coughed. "Nothing. How are you going to deal with Tuku?" Lu Yin was vexed. "This person has a white energy source, so I can't just charge in. I'm also from the Void God universe, so it's best for Senior Yu Feng to deal with him. It'll be like capturing Tuing. Otherwise, it'll cause a lot of dissatisfaction." Yishu was speechless. "Then what's the point of surrounding him?" Lu Yin replied, "I didn't expect him to have a white energy source. If I had known, I would have made a plan. I was going to charge in and capture him, even if it would cause a lot of dissatisfaction. I'm willing to do that for Sister Ran. But now it's troublesome. I can't retreat or advance. What do you think I should do?" Yishu's face twitched and he replied in an unpleasant tone, "I don't know." Lu Yin looked at him, almost certain that there was a problem with Tuku. If Tuku truly supported Bai Qian, then Yishu should be thinking of a way to help him deal with Tuku. This expression made it seem like Lu Yin was being more of a hindrance. If that was the case, then there was a problem with Bai Qian coming to Tuku's house. But what could it be? Lu Yin continued to stare at Tuku's house. Yishu looked at Lu Yin's back with a complicated expression. This person had ruined his plan, but he couldn't do anything about it. However, this plan wasn't something he had wanted to do in the first place, so all sorts of complicated emotions started to fill his heart. The news quickly reached He-Ran's ears. He-Ran was stunned and her expression turned ugly. Just like Yishu, she didn't know what to say. She couldn't openly help Tuku, but Lu Yin had destroyed Yishu's plans by dealing with Tuku. His excuse was that he was helping her, which made He-Ran even more furious. In the shadows, Xiao Qingfeng wanted nothing more than to kill Lu Yin. That bastard just had to cause trouble at this time. "Xianxia, what you're doing is useless. You'll even alarm Bai Qian. Don't worry about Tuku." Yishu had received He-Ran's instructions, and he tried his best to persuade Lu Yin to leave. But how could Lu Yin leave? "No, this guy supports Bai Qian. I'll use him to establish my power and let others know the consequences of offending Sister Ran. Don't worry about it. Even if I can't do anything to him, I'll make sure he can't leave and embarrass himself." Yishu replied, "That's useless." Lu Yin replied, "Just treat it as helping Sister Ran vent her anger." Yishu was helpless and he thought to himself, "My sister wants to slap you to death." Of course he couldn't say such things out loud. They couldn't force Lu Yin to leave at this time, or else Bai Qian would definitely become suspicious. They could only wait. Chapter 2668. He Shu had thought that his plan was flawless, but he hadn't expected to run into something like this. He could only accept his bad luck, but he was also relieved that Bai Qian wouldn't be in trouble again. In the distance, Xiaowu quietly observed all of this with excitement in the depths of his eyes. He did not know if Lu Yin's actions had anything to do with the two names that he had provided, but he understood He Shu well. He Shu was definitely feeling extremely stifled at this moment, and the more He Shu acted this way, the happier Xiaowu was. Bai Qian had arrived as she had originally planned to visit Tu Ku's house today. Everyone bowed to her, including He Shu. He Shu's eyes burned with passion as he watched Bai Qian walk over. Today was supposed to be his day of heartbreak, but because of Xianxia his plan had failed. He didn't know whether this was a good or bad thing, but he could still breathe a sigh of relief. Bai Qian's arrival caused the situation to escalate, and many important people in hyperspace looked over. Even though He Ran was furious that Lu Yin had ruined her plan, she still wanted to see what Bai Qian would do. Bai Qian had always kept a low profile in hyperspace, as she was completely different from He Ran. One was born in hyperspace and had been raised as the mistress of hyperspace since young. Even someone like Uncle Mo, who could use a black energy source, had to address her as Your Excellency. Uncle Mo had been raised by He Ran on her own accord, and she had done everything she could to obtain a black energy source for him. Bai Qian had come from a parallel universe, but she was a breath of fresh air to countless people. Even the reincarnation universe's young sovereign had been attracted to her. He Ran was a perfect woman, as if she had been born to be a woman. Bai Qian was a different kind of woman. She was a Valkyrie who could live for herself and pursue herself. She was full of heroic spirit and unparalleled wisdom. She was good at cultivation and fearless. This kind of quality won her the support of many people. However, that support had gradually disappeared under He Ran's pressure for so many years. Now there were only a few people left, and these people were also gradually disappearing. Bai Qian wouldn't allow anything to happen to Tu Ku, but Tu Ku was being investigated by the Horizon Manor, and He Ran couldn't directly interfere. He wanted to know how Bai Qian would deal with this. We've met 3 times and each time you've been different, Bai Qian said indifferently. Tu Ku walked out from his house and whispered behind Bai Qian, Your Excellency, there's no need to waste words with him. I'm not a spy and I'm not afraid of investigation. Bai Qian looked at him calmly. But you're still so cold. I really don't understand how someone like you can compete with Sister Ran, and what makes you think you can win? Xianxia, this has nothing to do with you. You're too presumptuous. Tu Ku shouted. He Shu raised his head. Tu Ku, Xianxia calls my sister, Sister Ran. My sister has already acknowledged him, so he's not an outsider. Tu Ku glared at He Shu. You guys were behind this, weren't you? You want me to follow in Tu Ying's footsteps? I'm different from that piece of trash, so don't even think about kicking me out of the decision-making team. Lu Yin found it funny, as such confidence naturally came from He Ran. This person seemed to support Bai Qian on the surface, but he was secretly supporting He Ran on the inside. The two of them were already on the same side, and everyone else in the decision-making team could withdraw, except for He Ran. Bai Qian looked at He Shu. Give me an explanation for what happened today. He Shu was helpless. This has nothing to do with us. It's the Heaven's Reflection Manor's actions. Lu Yin continued, Tu Ku is suspected of being a spy. Of course, he's not the only one. There are many other people in hyperspace who are also spies. However, his position is the highest, so we have to keep an eye on him to prevent him from escaping. So you're saying that you're not sure if Tu Ku is a spy? Bai Qian retorted. If I was, you wouldn't be able to see him anymore. How likely is it that he's a spy? Bai Qian asked. Lu Yin thought about it. 10%. Bai Qian grew colder. Do you know how much of an impact this place will have on Tu Ku? Lu Yin retorted. Then do you know how much of an impact he'll have on humanity if he's a spy? The two stared at each other, neither willing to back down. Tu Ku was furious. This Xianxia wasn't easy to deal with. Bai Qian looked around and saw that everyone was looking at her with respect. It didn't matter who won or lost in the end. It didn't even matter to most people in hyperspace. They couldn't even determine who would win, so they looked at Bai Qian the same way they looked at He Ran. Speaking of impact, don't you think about yourself? Bai Qian suddenly asked. Lu Yin didn't understand. Who are you talking about? Bai Qian looked at him. Lu Yin was astonished. Me. Bai Qian was calm. What impact do I have? Lu Yin was confused. Bai Qian sneered. You don't know? Lu Yin looked at He Shu. He Shu's expression was ugly as he whispered. There's a rumor going around that Lord Luo is certain that Luo Ho is in the Zio realm and that Mu Jun's disappearance is related to the Yu family. Lu Yin's eyes widened. What was going on? Someone had actually guessed that he was being spied on? Impossible. Looks like you really don't know. Think about how to deal with the Yu family first. If they get angry, you'll have to scram back to the Void God realm. It's none of your business here, Bai Qian said coldly. He Shu and the others thought that she was mocking Lu Yin, but Lu Yin knew that she was trying to get him to think of a way out. This matter could be big or small, and she really did care about him. After all, they were allies. Lu Yin's mind was in a mess. How had this rumor come about? Had someone really guessed that it was him? He didn't believe it, and spying on him was also impossible. Could the Yu family have spread the rumor themselves? From start to finish, the only ones who had ever suspected him were the Yu family. They didn't look at the process or the evidence, only the results. He Shu saw that Lu Yin didn't speak and his expression didn't seem right. He was pleased. This was naturally He Ran's doing. Her goal was to beat Xianxia, and it seemed like it was working. He whispered, "Don't worry too much. It's just a rumor and it might have been done by a spy. Your ability to capture spies is obvious, so it's normal that the eternal spies don't want you to stay in the hyperspace dimension." Lu Yin looked at He Shu. Could it have been He Ran? If no one had guessed that it was him or was spying on him, then the only possibility was to deal with him. The biggest powers in the hyperspace dimension were He Ran and the Yu family, but it wasn't likely that the Yu family was involved. They had long since confirmed that there was something wrong with Lu Yin, so there was no need for them to spread such rumors. After all, the Yu family had no choice but to do something, or they wouldn't be able to answer to the Zio realm. Was it her? It wasn't impossible, but what was her goal? Lu Yin thought about it and looked at Bai Qian. You did it, right? Bai Qian's eyes flashed, but he didn't answer. He Shu wasn't surprised, as the only person Xianxia could suspect was Bai Qian. From his perspective, Bai Qian was the only person in the entire hyperspace dimension who didn't want Xianxia to stay. Xianxia had temporarily taken over the Heaven's View Manor, and he had been of great help to their side. The rumor had also started when the Heaven's View Manor had surrounded the Tuku family. I'm asking you, did you do it? Lu Yin's eyes were cold as he stared at Bai Qian, even revealing a hint of killing intent. Tuku hurriedly stood in front of Bai Qian. What are you doing, Xianxia? Don't be too presumptuous. This is the hyperspace dimension, not your Void God's hyperspace. He Shu was also afraid that Lu Yin would attack Bai Qian. If it was possible, Uncle Mo would have killed Bai Qian long ago, but no one could do that in the hyperspace dimension. If Lu Yin attacked Bai Qian, the ruler would think that it was He Ran's doing, and that would be troublesome. Bai Qian, on the other hand, was fearless. So what if I did? So what if I didn't? Would you believe me? Lu Yin angrily shouted. You definitely did it. You sure have some tricks up your sleeve to force me away, but they won't win against Sister He Ran. Bai Qian was displeased. You don't have to worry about that. She then looked in a certain direction. Your trouble is here. Lu Yin looked over and saw that Eulele had arrived. He Shu and the rest saw him as well. The people on the Lucky Planet had encountered a rare event, and with so many important people gathered here, it was quite lively. Eulele's expression was unsightly and his hair was disheveled. He walked up to Lu Yin and didn't look at anyone else. Father is looking for you. Lu Yin frowned. I'm keeping an eye on Tuku. He's suspected to be a spy. Leave it to someone else. Father is looking for you. Eulele's tone was even lower, as if he was suppressing his anger. He Shu stepped forward. Lele, the matter between Luo Jun and the Yu family can't be Xianxi's doing. How could he have the ability to participate in Mu Jun's disappearance? Eulele glared at He Shu. You have no right to interfere in the Yu family's matters. He Shu was displeased, but he didn't say anything else. He Ran and the Yu family had always been at odds with each other, and aside from Yu Ting, the rest of the Yu family had always been hostile towards them. Eulele was the same, and his mood fluctuated. After rebuking He Shu, Eulele looked at Lu Yin. Are we leaving or not? He had no choice but to instruct Guan Laoda and the rest not to leave the encirclement and to keep an eye on Tuku to prevent him from escaping. These words almost caused Tuku to explode, and Shu felt helpless as well. Before he left, he looked at Bai Qian. I hope you're not a spy or I'll personally capture you. Tuku snorted. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You have no right to tell us what to do in the hyperspace continuum. Scram. Eulele glanced at Tuku. Don't drag me into this. Tuku's expression changed. I'm talking about Xianxia, it has nothing to do with you. Eulele rolled his eyes. I'm going with him to the Zio realm. What do you mean by scram? Tuku resentfully retracted his gaze and didn't say anything else. Soon after, Lu Yin left with Eulele. Bai Qian was about to leave as well. If the Heaven's Reflection Manor wants to surround us, then let them. As long as we investigate thoroughly, I'll get Xianxia to give you an explanation. Only then did Tuku's expression improve. Don't worry, I'm fine. Bai Qian didn't even look at Shu before leaving. Shu and Tuku exchanged glances, but they didn't say anything before retreating. Shao Qingfeng was waiting in the distance. The plan can't be carried out. Shao Zun can only come for one day. After today, it'll be some time before we can start the plan again, Shao Qingfeng said helplessly. Shu heaved a sigh of relief, but he also felt helpless. Who would have thought that Xianxia would appear and disrupt the plan? Let's wait for the next time. This was purely a coincidence. He wanted to perform well in front of my sister, but he ended up helping Bai Qian instead. Thank you. Archaic City's Sweeper Brothers tip. I'll give it to you, thank you. Chapter 2669. After hearing Shu's words, Shao Qingfeng flung his golden robes and said coldly, Tuku is right. This Xianxia doesn't know his limits and thinks he can fly just because he caught a few spies. He went against Lotus Reverend's disciple in the Void God universe and offended your sister in the hyperspace dimension. The Yu family must be suspicious of him as well. He can't stay in the hyperspace dimension any longer. Shu fell into deep thought. In the Zio realm, Lu Yin met Yufeng. It was the same place that could monitor the entire hyperspace dimension. Yufeng stood in the center, seemingly in control of everything. When Lu Yin arrived, Yufeng didn't even look at him and asked, Did you hear the rumors? Didn't you always think so? Lu Yin asked, Why are you making such a fuss? Why did you call me over? Yufeng laughed. I used to think so, but not anymore. Lu Yin raised a brow. What do you mean? Yufeng turned around and looked at Lu Yin. At first I thought that Ran was the one behind you getting close to the Yu family and instigating Luo Shan, but this rumor made me see another possibility. Perhaps Ran was the one behind it, but you weren't necessarily the one behind it. You were also being used, or rather. He paused. You really wanted to investigate the spies and didn't have any other intentions towards the Yu family. Lu Yin smiled. I said from the start that I didn't have any other intentions towards the Yu family. You were the ones who thought you were smart. Why didn't you think that I was the one behind this rumor? My goal was to make you trust me. You really did think that way. When the rumor first appeared, I really did think so. Yufeng laughed. Eulele's voice sounded from behind. I thought so too. Lu Yin laughed. Aren't you guys tired? Eulele scratched his head and looked up. What's so tiring about using our brains? Our Yu family is best at using our brains, and the little games we play are things that people like you can't understand. Lu Yin pursed his lips. Where did this sense of superiority come from? I'll play with Wang Wen or Wei Rong someday. You were suspicious at first, but why aren't you suspicious now? Lu Yin was curious. Yufeng looked at him with interest. Haven't you thought about who started this rumor? Bai Qian, Lu Yin answered without hesitation. Stupid, Eulele disdainfully. Yufeng said, Bai Qian can't do it. Her influence is too small. On the surface, only Tuku supports her. In my opinion, there might be a problem with Tuku. Other than that, she has no power to support him. Even if she wants to, she is powerless. This rumor spread throughout the Six Directions Society and the Three Monarchs universe in just 2 days. If Bai Qian had this kind of power, Ran wouldn't be able to sleep. Who? Lu Yin didn't understand, but he was even more certain that it was Ran. Yufeng calmly replied, Ran. Lu Yin frowned. That's impossible. I called her Sister Ran, and that helped her a lot. Why would she harm me? You'll have to ask yourself, Yufeng said. To be honest, I didn't expect Ran to spread such rumors. This is also the reason why I suspect you. Your status and influence are of great help to Ran. Especially when He used you to get in touch with the virtual god spacetime to buy resources and expand her research and cultivation techniques. You've helped her a lot. You've helped her a lot, but she still spread this rumor. You must have crossed her bottom line. I had my suspicions when the rumor first appeared yesterday. Today I found out that Zijing is missing. Does this rumor have anything to do with Zijing? Lu Yin and Yu Feng looked at each other without speaking. Yu Feng smiled. You don't believe me? That's right. Compared to Hiran, I'm not worthy of your trust. Yu Feng casually opened a screen that showed the various places where the rumor had originated. Hiran underestimates the Yu family. She thinks that the surveillance we have is far from the true number of people under surveillance. These people spreading rumors are outside the scope of the Yu family's surveillance, but in reality they're all within range. Take a look for yourself. Maybe you know some of them. If you don't believe me, I can give you more evidence. Lu Yin looked at the people spreading the rumors. He didn't know any of them, but he had to go with the flow. Her people. Lu Yin's expression darkened. Yu Lei sneered. This Hiran is getting more and more stupid. Xianxia actually knows some of them. Yu Feng continued. We haven't fought with her over the past few years, and Bai Qian was almost eliminated. She thinks that she can control spacetime, so she's naturally more unscrupulous and arrogant. Lu Yin's expression darkened. Why is she doing this? Yu Feng looked at him. I told you, you've crossed her bottom line. Lu Yin replied. I just want to see Zijing. Although I've offended her, I've also dealt with Tu Ku and helped her slap Bai Qian's face. Why is she still doing this? Yu Feng sighed. 16 years ago, a member of the decision-making team offended Hiran, and his entire family disappeared. 13 years ago Hiran ordered the destruction of a planet that wasn't connected to the universe. That planet only knew of itself, and it didn't even know that aliens existed. It was destroyed because someone on the planet had accidentally created a face that resembled Hiran's. Of the 4 billion people on the planet, not a single one survived. Even in death, they didn't know that a face was the cause of their deaths. 7 years ago, Yu Feng spoke of many things that Lu Yin remembered very clearly, and they were all related to Hiran. This woman is full of herself and thinks that she's better than everyone else. She doesn't even want to breathe with others, and she sees herself as a god who transcends space-time. She enjoys the bliss of controlling everything, and anyone who disobeys or contradicts her doesn't have a good ending, especially those who are promoted by her. Yu Feng looked at him. In her heart, you're that kind of person. No matter what you do or how much you help her, as long as you make her feel that you're uncontrollable, she'll think of ways to control you. She thinks that she's above everything, and even her face can't be easily seen. That's Hiran. Do you really understand her? Lu Yin clenched his fists. Why are you telling me all this? Yu Lei asked. Why did you approach the Yu family? Lu Yin looked over. Yu Lei raised his head. Don't deny it. You deliberately approached the Yu family, and it should have something to do with Hiran. Now that she's making a move against you, why are you still helping her? Yu Feng spoke up. Xianxia, you don't need to care about Hiran. You have several powerhouses backing you, and even the 3 monarchs have Qinlu supporting you. In Transcendence, the Yu family can protect you. With your current status, you're on the same level as Hiran. She's not the true ruler of Transcendence, far from it. Why help her? Zijing is in her hands. Lu Yin asked. Yu Feng explained. Zijing is researching a very important cultivation technique. She's not working for Hiran but for that person. That ruler? Lu Yin was astonished. Yu Feng waved a hand and surveyed the entire Transcendence. With Hiran's abilities, it's difficult for her to hide anything from me. Only that person can hide anything from me. Zijing was taken away by that person, not Hiran. You have to be clear about this. Where is Zijing? Lu Yin asked anxiously. He really wanted to know where that parallel spacetime flow was. Yu Feng shook his head. I can't find her. I already said that as long as that person wants to hide her, no one will be able to find her. In other words, if Zijing is hidden, it means that she's already caught that person's eye. Hiran won't be able to do anything to her. I guarantee this in the name of the Yu family. But I saw Zijing not too long ago, Lu Yin said. Yu Lei rolled his eyes. I knew it. Something must have happened to make Hiran pay a price for attacking Xianxia in anger. Yu Feng's lips curled up. Zijing is hidden by that person, which means that no one can touch her or influence her, including Hiran herself. Since that's the case, she still allowed you to see Zijing. What do you think she paid for it? This price is enough to make her hate you and attack you. Lu Yin's eyes flickered. Was that so? Perhaps. Uncle Mo and Ku Jian's attitudes towards him were different, and even He Shu's gaze towards him was different. Perhaps He Ran was one of the reasons. We've said everything that needs to be said, and we've even told you who attacked you. You should at least show some sincerity, Yu Lei said. Lu Yin sighed. Yes, He Ran told me to get close to the Yu family. The two weren't surprised and they calmly looked at him. My goal, Lu Yin looked at Yu Fong, is to unify the heaven's reflection manner. Yu Fong and Yu Lei were shocked. What did you say? Lu Yin said, there was someone from the Yu family called Zhou Xian, right? Yu Fong's expression turned ugly and so did Yu Lei. Zhou Xian was Yu Fong's grandfather and Yu Lei's great-grandfather. This person had been mocked by the Six Direction Association and caused the Yu family to decline for a generation. This was all because he had wanted to unify the heaven's reflection manner and become a giant that enjoyed the privileges of the Six Direction Association while standing outside of it. In the end, he had failed and become a laughingstock. This was a taboo topic for everyone in the Yu family. Outsiders said that the Yu family had taken control of the heaven's reflection manner because the Hyperspace Association wanted to share the family's authority, but in reality, Zhou Xian's generation had also wanted to take control of the heaven's reflection manner. This was the truth. When he saw their ugly expressions, Lu Yin knew that Uncle Mo was right. Zhou Xian's actions had dealt a huge blow to the Yu family. I'm naturally good at capturing spies. He Ran hopes that I can take over the heaven's reflection manner from your Yu family and use my abilities to unify the heaven's reflection manner. Who knows, the Yu family might even help me out because of Zhou Xian, Lu Yin said. Yu Fong sneered, what a scheme. She knows what my Yu family cares about and sent someone like you here. If she didn't suspect you, then perhaps my Yu family would have helped you. At least for now, my Yu family doesn't want to control the heaven's reflection manner. It would be best if you could take over. Yu Lei gritted his teeth. That evil woman. Lu Yin found a place to sit down. I'm telling you guys because I'm returning the favor. Since the rumors have already spread, He Ran knows that you guys won't trust me, much less help me. She's probably already given up on her plans to unify the heaven's reflection manner. This plan was originally just a random thought and it wasn't a secret plan. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't have seen through me so quickly. Chapter 2670. What do you want to do now? Yu Fong asked. Lu Yin sighed. I just want to take Zijing away. I don't care about transcendence, cultivation technique or He Ran. I just want to take Zijing back to the Void God universe. Brother Su Heng, Big Sis Su Ling, Su Wei and Senior Su Wei are all there. I just want to help the Void God universe get rid of the spies and I don't care about anything else. But you can't take Zijing away, Yu Fong said. Lu Yin frowned and stared blankly at the ground. Yu Fong and Yu Lei looked at each other and walked towards Lu Yin. I can help you take Zijing away. Lu Yin looked at Yu Fong. I didn't trust He Ran and I don't trust you either. Yu Fong replied, you won't lose anything. Just because I don't see any losses doesn't mean there won't be any. Yu Fong said, without my help you'll never be able to take Zijing away. Lu Yin smiled. You said that Zijing is now working for Dominator Transcendence, not He Ran. I'm worried about her, but as long as the cultivation technique is successful, Zijing will be the next Yu family. Why should I interfere? If it doesn't work, I'll just wait. Yu Lei rolled his eyes. Now that he was smart, this guy's reaction was quite fast. Yu Fong was stunned. If Lu Yin was really willing to wait, he wouldn't be able to convince him otherwise. He Ran schemed against you and you're just going to let it go? Yu Fong was unhappy. Lu Yin said, didn't you say that I'll make Zijing pay the price if I see her? Consider it a deal. Yu Lei sneered. He'd already said everything he wanted to say. Now that Xianxia was using their words to refute him, he was speechless. Yu Fong glared at Yu Lei before looking at Lu Yin. If Zijing is the next Yu family, then you'll never be able to be with her. Lu Yin raised a brow. Yu Fong continued, I know you don't believe me, but think about it. Can the Yu family join the Void God universe? Lu Yin's gaze froze. This was true. Do you think Transcendence will let Zijing go for such an important cultivation technique? Once the research is successful, Zijing's status will be extraordinary. She can do anything but leave Transcendence. That's reality. You won't be able to take her away, even if you become an extreme. Unless you're a corpse. Lu Yin fell into deep thought. It's up to you. Do you want Zijing alive or a corpse? Yu Feng left with Yu Lele, giving Lu Yin time to think. Of course he wanted to cooperate with the Yu family, but he couldn't just do it like this. He had to take the initiative, and the more Yu Feng tried to persuade him, the more important his status as Xianxia would be in Yu Feng's heart. This would also give Yu Feng more weight in their future cooperation. I want to take Zijing with me, but why should I trust you? You might just sell me out. Yu Feng smiled bitterly. You're right. I want to take Zijing, but why should I trust you? Yu Feng laughed. To whom? Do you have enemies in hyperspace? Lu Yin replied, just treat it as a game. Your Yu family plays games all year round and normal people like us can't beat you. I need to make sure that I'm safe. Yu Feng looked at Yu Lele. Yu Lele asked, what kind of guarantee do you want? I haven't thought about it yet. Yu Feng nodded. Alright, I'll give you a guarantee. You should be worried about Hiran. You're cooperating with me because of my Yu family's position and your goals. Hiran is an obstacle. If you're worried about her, I'll give you a guarantee that you won't be worried about. What do you think, Bai Qian? Lu Yin stared at Yu Feng blankly. What do you mean? Yu Feng clasped his hands behind his back and looked very confident. Hiran's greatest enemy is Bai Qian. Although it seems like Bai Qian has been eliminated, things will be different if my Yu family fully supports her. With Bai Qian as a guarantee, can you trust her? This was the mutual trust that the Yu Feng had found, as well as a target that would restrict each other. Hiran would never cooperate with someone who supported Bai Qian, let alone the Yu family. Yu Feng also needed to confirm that Lu Yin was sincere about cooperating with them, so Lu Yin had to support Bai Qian as well. This would put both sides at ease. Lu Yin was speechless. He suspected that this was all part of Bai Qian's plan, but she wasn't that capable. No matter how smart she was, she wouldn't be able to influence the Yu family. In other words, this was a coincidence that allowed him and the Yu family to openly support Bai Qian in dealing with Hiran. Back on Earth, Lu Yin had talked to Bai Qian about the situation in hyperspace. Bai Qian had said that as long as she had the support of the Yu family, she would not have to fear Hiran. Now it had actually come true, and Hiran had even helped her achieve it. The affairs of the world were unpredictable, and even Lu Yin wanted to sigh. I have to support Bai Qian? Lu Yin hesitated. Yu Feng nodded. You're worried about us and we're worried about you. If Hiran has received guidance from an expert, then everything from the moment you approach the Yu family has been part of the plan. Our Yu family will be doomed, so we have to support Bai Qian. Only Bai Qian can dispel our doubts. You have to publicly support Bai Qian, and the Yu family will do the same. We'll be even more thorough. The moment we support Bai Qian, at least a third of our people will follow suit. Lu Yin remained silent. Yu Lele mocked. You're a grown man, yet you're so wishy-washy. Hiran has already made a move on you, so what are you afraid of? Don't you want to save your own woman? Or do you think that Hiran can help you? She's been lying to you since the beginning. Once Zijing's research succeeds, she won't be able to be with you unless you join the hyperspace continuum. Yu Feng said. Hiran made a move on you behind your back and lied to you on the surface. What are you worried about? Lu Yin looked at the two. Publicly supporting Bai Qian is the right thing to do? Yu Feng smiled. So you're worried about Bai Qian. Don't worry, the Yu family has been keeping an eye on her. She has no background or connections, and Hiran has already dealt with most of the people who supported her. There's definitely something wrong with Tuku. She has no power in the hyperspace continuum, and she's not an expert either. She's an excellent puppet, and it's better than Hiran winning. Yu Lele continued. I've interacted with Bai Qian before. She's too arrogant and no one can help her. We're not really supporting her, we're just letting her replace Hiran. It's better than a woman like Hiran attacking us behind our backs. Bai Qian isn't worried about that at all. Lu Yin nodded. That's true. But Bai Qian has a problem to deal with, Yu Feng said. Have you heard of the perfect young master? Lu Yin's eyes flashed. The one from the reincarnation spacetime? I've heard of him. Back in the Reincarnation Dao Academy, someone compared me to him. Yu Feng's expression turned serious. This young master has taken a liking to Bai Qian, which means that he's working with Hiran. We have to be wary of this person. Lu Yin suddenly had an idea. Tuku's family, Bai Qian, Hishu, Xiao Qingfeng, and this perfect young master. Could there be a connection between them? Although this person doesn't belong to the hyperspace continuum, Ying has a lot of influence. He Ran's younger brother He Shu often follows him around. There's also that Xiao Qingfeng and a large group of powerful juniors from the Six Paths Association. This person has clearly taken a liking to Bai Qian, which is troublesome. Lu Yin was puzzled. He Ran and Bai Qian are both favored by the hyperspace continuum's ruler. Doesn't that young master care about them? Yu Fang shook his head. Perhaps that person is already planning to use Bai Qian to get something from that young master. That young master is a disciple of a grand empyrean and will become one of the 3 sovereigns in the future. Sacrificing Bai Qian would be easy in order to get closer to him. Then if we support Bai Qian, wouldn't that mean that we're going against that young master? Is the Yu family willing to make such a losing deal? Lu Yin didn't understand. Yu Fang explained, in any case that young master is working with He Ran and doesn't support Bai Qian. He can't get closer to the Yu family, so we're not on the same side. So, we need to stabilize the hyperspace continuum. Even if that person becomes one of the 3 sovereigns, what can he do to the hyperspace continuum? The current 3 sovereigns and 9 sages can't control the entire Six Paths Association. Lu Yin understood. The Yu family had seen through the situation too clearly. He Ran was unlucky to have met such a smart family. If I stay by He Ran's side and maintain a cooperative relationship with her, it should be more beneficial for you. Yu Fang and Yu Lei laughed at the same time. Xianxia, don't tell me that you still haven't seen through the Yu family? You want to curry favor with both sides without offending either? That's not realistic. Lu Yin said, I mean, I have other ways to make you trust me. Well, let's hear it. Yu Fang was interested. Let me tell you first. You don't understand the hyperspace continuum as well as I do. Don't try any tricks, they're useless. Lu Yin looked at the location where the entire hyperspace continuum was being monitored. He walked over and stood in the center looking for something. Yu Fang and Yu Lei were in no hurry and watched him search. Not long after, Lu Yin's eyes lit up. Found it. He zoomed in on a certain location and pointed out, do you know anything about this place? Yu Fang and Yu Lei stared at the direction Lu Yin was pointing at. It's an abandoned mine that was abandoned after an accident. It's surrounded by liquefied minerals and poisonous liquid. It's a forbidden area. What else? Lu Yin asked. Yu Fang looked at Yu Lei, but the latter shook his head. Nothing special. There are too many forbidden areas like this in the hyperspace continuum. Lu Yin continued, what if I told you that this is the place where Zijing used to work with the Energy Research Group? What would you think? Yu Fang and Yu Lei were shocked. Here. The Energy Research Group seemed ordinary, but it was actually a mysterious group. Before Zijing had joined, the group had been open and transparent. After Zijing had joined, the group had turned secretive. However, Zijing had escaped halfway through, which had led to the disbanding of the research group. In reality, the Energy Research Group had never been disbanded, but it had been purposely disbanded to divert the attention of others so that they could return once they found Zijing. Several years ago, Zijing had returned, and the Energy Research Group had worked seamlessly to make up for the losses caused by Zijing's escape. Now they had caught the attention of the hyperspace continuum dominator and had been brought to a parallel universe with a different flow of time. During this time, even Yu Fang couldn't find the Energy Research Group's location, let alone their research direction. Yu Fang had been searching for the Energy Research Group's location for the past 2 years, but it was hidden too well. He Ran couldn't hide it, but the hyperspace continuum dominator could. Chapter 2671. Qin Lu was the one who had told Lu Yin this location. Only He Ran, Uncle Imo, and a few others in the hyperspace dimension knew about the research team's location. Qin Lu and the 3 monarchs were the only ones who knew about it. Are you sure it's here? Yu Fang asked Lu Yin with a serious expression. Yu Lei took a closer look, never expecting it to be here. Lu Yin replied, I'm absolutely sure. You can use your own methods to investigate, but Zijing is no longer here. I don't know where she is either. You said that I can take her away if I cooperate with you, so show me your abilities. I've already told you the location, it's up to the Yu family to find out more. Yu Fang instructed. Yu Lei retreated, but Lu Yin didn't know what to do. Lu Yin wasn't in a hurry and simply waited. A few days passed in the blink of an eye, and Yu Lei walked over with dark circles under his eyes. There really are traces of the hyperanalysis model. Regardless of whether it was in the past or present, there shouldn't be any hyperanalysis model in that place. Lu Yin didn't understand. Hyperanalysis model? The hyperspace dimension had done a lot of research using cultivation techniques. Aside from the energy source and the gift technique that everyone knew about, there were also battle navigation systems, energy search systems, and so on. Now there was a hyper-analysis model that no one had explained, so Lu Yin didn't understand. You should have heard that the hyperspace dimension can analyze the entire spacetime. No one can hide in the hyperspace, Eulele said. Lu Yin nodded. I have, but it's just empty talk. I believe that the hyperspace dimension can analyze the material in this spacetime, but it can't monitor every direction. That's right. It can't be used to analyze the entire spacetime, but it can be used in a certain area. Eulele looked at the screen. Lu Yin looked over as well. Are you saying that there's a hyper-analysis model in that area? Yufeng stepped forward and stared at the area. The cost of using the super-analysis mode is very high, and even that person wouldn't be able to use it so casually. If the super-analysis mode can be used in that place, then I believe that it should be the place where Zijing was once part of the research team. He then looked at Lu Yin. How did you know that location? Zijing couldn't have told you. I have my ways. Yufeng stared deeply at Lu Yin. If you really did use your own methods, then you should be thankful that you didn't go looking for Zijing on your own. Otherwise, you would have definitely been targeted by that person. No one can hide from the super-analysis mode, not even an extreme powerhouse, not even the 3 sovereigns and 9 sages. However, I don't believe that you can use your own methods to find her. Even my Yu family can't. As they spoke, Yufeng and Eulele looked at Lu Yin strangely. How could an outsider like Lu Yin use his own methods to find the location? What could he do? Yufeng couldn't accept it unless there was someone behind it. He could work with Xianxia on the surface, but he couldn't work with a mysterious Xianxia. Lu Yin replied, my method is to be a spy. Qingfen, that's how I know the location. Qingfen? Yufeng and Eulele were shocked. Lu Yin explained, you should have heard of Qingfen's importance. For him, I even offended Lotus Sovereign's disciple. Her eldest disciple Yaolon was sent to the endless battlefield as a punishment. Qingfen's value is simply too great. Regardless of whether it's the ultra-spacetime continuum, the 3 sovereigns continuum, the wood continuum or the void god continuum, Qingfen has connections to all of them. He knows many secrets, which is why I was forced to bring him to the red domain. Yufeng didn't believe it. The range of connections between spies is extremely small. I don't believe that Qingfen even knows the location of the energy research team. Qingfen has the witch spirit god behind him, Lu Yin said. Yufeng still didn't believe it. Lu Yin thought about it. How about this? If I kill He Shu, would you believe me? Yufeng's expression changed in disbelief. Eulele blinked and stared blankly at Lu Yin. Lu Yin smiled. If you still don't believe me, then there's nothing else I can do. Yufeng nodded. All right, if you can kill He Shu, then I'll believe you. After you announce your support for Bai Qian, I'll find a time to take action. I'll make sure you see it with your own eyes. Lu Yin then left. This time he had discussed many things with the Yu family, but the results had been rather good. Everything had been going in a direction that was beneficial to him, but the Yu family knew that they were holding each other back. The only problem was killing He Shu, but he couldn't kill him. He had to kill someone else. The Yu family's actions were swift and huge. A few days later, while Lu Yin was still keeping an eye on the Tuk family, news of the Yu family supporting Bai Qian exploded. It shook the entire ultra-spacetime continuum and countless people were stunned. Bai Qian and He Ran had been competing for many years, but the Yu family had never expressed their support. It wasn't just them. There had been many similar competitions between Bai Qian and He Ran for countless years, but the Yu family had never expressed their support. This was why Bai Qian had never thought that she would one day receive their support. Bai Qian was confused. Why was the Yu family supporting her? He Ran was furious when she heard the news, and she immediately stood up and walked down the stairs. Why is the Yu family supporting Bai Qian? No one knew the Yu family's power better than she did. In the entire ultra-spacetime continuum, the Yu family was an existence that could contend with sovereigns to a certain extent. The Yu family's support had pulled Bai Qian back from the brink of elimination, and it had also given Bai Qian unprecedented support. When the news spread, at least a fifth of the ultra-spacetime continuum's members had turned to support Bai Qian. This was too troublesome for He Ran. Uncle Mo's expression sank. I don't know. Our people are guessing that it might have something to do with Xianxia. Eulele took Xianxia away from Lucky Planet, and after Xianxia left the Zio realm, news of this spread. We should ask Xianxia. Ask him immediately. Hiran lost her composure. She had always been high and mighty with the authority to control everything, but now she realized that this authority was weak. At this time Kujian arrived in a panic. My lady, a third of the council has changed their stance to support Bai Qian. Hiran was furious and clenched her fists. This was the power of the Yu family. They were the ones who could truly control the ultra-spacetime continuum. She, on the other hand, was just a competitor that the sovereign had pushed forward. She could not be compared to the Yu family. The council was not stupid. Elsewhere, outside Tuku's home, Uncle Imo contacted Lu Yin and asked him what he had discussed with Yu Feng. Lu Yin told him that he had been trying to explain that he had not instigated Luo Jun and the Yu family, but he did not say anything else. Uncle Imo asked again, but Lu Yin gave the same answer every time. Hiran's face fell and her gaze turned cold. Uncle Imo ended the call and looked at Hiran. He hesitated for a moment. Could it be related to this matter? From the Yu family's point of view, Xianxia is one of our people. If he instigated Luo Jun to attack the Zio realm, then that means that we ordered him to do so. At this time He Shu arrived anxiously. Sis, why is the Yu family suddenly supporting Bai Qian? Does it have something to do with Xianxia? Everyone was guessing that Xianxia could not have gotten the Yu family to support Bai Qian, but Hiran was behind him. He had schemed against the Yu family, and to many people, it was Hiran who had schemed against the Yu family. The Yu family naturally had to retaliate, and supporting Bai Qian was their greatest counterattack. Hiran had not expected this. She had targeted the Yu family more than once, but they had never cared. This time she had mainly wanted to warn Xianxia, but she had not expected the Yu family to react so strongly. I miscalculated, Hiran admitted in a low voice. I didn't expect Yu Feng to react so strongly. He Shu said, Sis, that might not be the case. Uncle Imo also said, That's right, that might not be the case. I'll go talk to Yu Feng. Hiran looked up. I'll go myself. Not long after, Hiran went to the Zio realm to look for Yu Feng. No one knew what they talked about, but when Hiran came out, her expression became even uglier. Uncle Mo's expression was also extremely gloomy. Little Shu, find Xiao Qingfeng and start that plan again. We can't let Bai Qian have any chance. Hiran contacted He Shu. He Shu nodded. Hiran looked back at the Zio realm. Since the Yu family wants to support Bai Qian, I'll eliminate him himself. Let's see what they do. With that she left. On the other side, outside Tuku's home, Yu Feng contacted Lu Yin. Hiran came looking for me. She thinks that I'm venting my anger on her because of what happened with Lord Luo, which is why I publicly supported Bai Qian. Lu Yin smiled. That's not bad. I don't have to waste my breath. I can see that although she's angry, she hasn't lost her rationality. The rest is up to you. I hope to see a completely irrational and crazy Hiran. Lu Yin's lips curled up. I'm looking for an opportunity. It should appear soon, but I'll need you to push the fire. Oh? What is it? Yu Feng was curious. A few days later, Yu Ting arrived on Lucky Star with the Yu family's intentions. They wanted Lu Yin to leave the hyperspace dimension and remove him from his position in the hyperspace dimension. Guan Lao De shouted angrily, What is the meaning of this? You invited us to help capture the spy and now you're chasing us away? Yu Ting calmly replied, Don't make it sound so bad. The matter of capturing the spy is over, so please return to the Void God's spacetime. Lu Yin and Yu Ting exchanged glances. This is the Yu family's intention? It's the hyperspace dimension's intention, Yu Ting replied. Lu Yin pointed ahead. What about Tuku? He's suspected of being a spy. Yu Ting replied, We'll investigate. Please return, acting governor. In the distance, Tuku had been paying attention to what was happening outside. He wasn't happy to see this situation but rather gloomy. No matter why Xianxia had targeted him, this person was still on Hiran's side. Now that he had been chased away in public, Hiran was the one who had lost out. The Yu family's actions were too big and there was no way out. Since the hyperspace dimension had chased them away, Lu Yin could only leave. This news reached Hiran's ears, but she didn't have much of a reaction. This was just the first step, and the Yu family would continue to make more moves. With the Yu family's intelligence, they would be able to give Bai Qian unprecedented support. However, Ran's gaze was calm. Would that be of any use? In the end, victory or defeat would depend on the ruler. Bai Qian had no chance. Lu Yin being chased away had been part of his and Yu Fang's plan. After all, Lu Yin had been the cause of this entire incident, and he was the one who had received the most attention. Chapter 2672. It would be strange if Lu Yin hadn't been implicated. After all, he had been invited by the Yu family, and there was no reason for them to keep him around. However, this matter infuriated Su Wuji. He went to the Zhou realm and caused a ruckus with the Yu family, which left Yu Fang helpless. You come and go as you please? What do you take our Heaven's Reflection Manor for? Let me tell you something. The Heaven's Reflection Manor can go to the Sixth Direction Association without your permission. My Xianxia can come and go as he pleases, and if you dare to stop him, I'll tear down your Zhou realm. I can't do it alone, so I'll ask Su Heng and Su Leng for help. If that doesn't work, I'll ask Senior Su Wei for help. I don't believe that you'll be able to chase Xianxia away. Just you wait, I won't let this matter rest. Su Wuji blocked the entrance to the Zhou realm and cursed for an entire day and night. He wore the everlasting mirror and acted without restraint, shocking many. He no longer maintained his image as an extreme powerhouse. He was truly angry this time. Su Heng and Su Leng wanted to come as well, but they were stopped by Lu Yin. If they went, the Yu family would suffer great losses. Su Wuji was just making a ruckus, and at most he would embarrass the Yu family without suffering any losses. However, this incident was recorded by some busybodies, and it was labeled as the most bizarre incident of the year. An extreme powerhouse blocking the entrance to another extreme powerhouse's home and cursing for an entire day and night was something that had never happened before. This Su Wuji is crazy. Yu Fang gritted his teeth. If he hadn't discussed this with Lu Yin, he would have used the feeding technique to kill this bastard. Yu Lei scratched her head, causing white dandruff to fall like snowflakes. It seems that this Su Wuji was a scoundrel even before he became famous. But that's fine, it makes things more realistic. Yu Fang glared at her and fell silent. He swore to himself that if Xianxia didn't trust him, he would make this kid pay the price. The Yu family had been blocked at the entrance and cursed, and even their ancestor had come back to life. In the red domain, Su Wuji returned, his anger still lingering. Guan Laoda and the others looked at him as if he was a god. Lu Yin felt the same way, as if this was his first day meeting Su Wuji. Su Wuji put his sunglasses back on. You're not angry? Why don't you join me? There's a lot of useless words. Manor Lord, who did you learn this from? Lu Yin leaned over and asked. Limitless Void raised his head. Self-taught. Lu Yin was speechless. What was with this inexplicable pride? Did someone praise him? Although Su Wuji was a bit of a scoundrel, Lu Yin liked him very much. Su Wuji had refused to show himself when faced with Lotus Reverend's disciple, and Lu Yin had thought that he was someone who knew how to protect himself. This time, Lu Yin had seen a different side of Su Wuji. Su Wuji had his own way of thinking, and he was even more protective. He believed Ji Wuji's words. If Lotus Lord's disciple had harmed him, he would not have let it go. He was not a bad person. What happened in transdimensional universe was spread out because of nothingness, and the internal competition in transdimensional universe also attracted a lot of attention. At this time, Ran needed to completely eliminate Bai Qian's threat and humiliate the Yu family. Half a month later, Lu Yin received news that He Shu had secretly gone to the Tuk family. After Lu Yin left, the seal on Ji Xing was lifted. The Yu family didn't investigate Tuku at all. On the surface, Tuku was someone who supported Bai Qian, which was equivalent to being on the same side as the Yu family. Naturally, nothing would happen to him. As for Tuku's spy, the suspicion was made up by Lu Yin. The Yu family wouldn't cause trouble for him, and Ran wouldn't either. This matter was settled. Remember the time and make an appointment with Bai Qian immediately, He Shu said as he stared at Tuku. Beside him was Shao Qingfeng. Tuku's expression was solemn as he immediately contacted Bai Qian. Soon Tuku put down the cloudstone. Success. On that day. He Shu looked at Shao Qingfeng. Shao Qingfeng replied, no problem. He Shu's chest felt heavy. Bai Qian couldn't hide from this. Although he couldn't accept it, he had to do it for his sister. He could only blame the Yu family for suddenly supporting Bai Qian. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so ruthless. Let's go, He Shu said with an ugly expression. Shao Qingfeng knew what He Shu was thinking and didn't say anything else. Before leaving, Xiao Qingfeng suddenly looked at Tuku. You can't really be a spy, right? Tuku was shocked. When he saw He Shu looking at him, he hurriedly said, Sir, I'm definitely not a spy. I swear that I'm definitely not one. Sir, you can investigate me. He Shu waved a hand. Xianxia told me that he was deliberately causing trouble for Bai Qian. He's not a spy. Xiao Qingfeng smiled. Thank you very much. With that, the two left. Tuku wiped the sweat off his forehead. He had put on an act in order to help He Ran deal with Bai Qian. Now that he was about to succeed, he couldn't let his efforts go to waste because of Xianxia. This Xianxia was really troublesome. If not for him, this matter would have ended long ago, and the Yu family wouldn't have had anything to do with it. After leaving Lucky Planet, He Shu and Xiao Qingfeng headed in the same direction. Feeling uncomfortable? Let's go, I'll take you to have some fun. Don't worry, Xiao Zun knows what you're thinking. He also saw your sacrifice and won't treat you badly in the future. Xiao Qingfeng comforted He Shu. He Shu bitterly replied, It would be great if I could live like Lu Yin. I wouldn't care about anyone and I wouldn't fear anyone. Xiao Qingfeng frowned. That person will die sooner or later. Not to mention his status as a member of the Lu family, just the fact that he's contradicted a Yuan sage several times means that he won't have a good ending. Everyone has to follow the rules in life. If he doesn't follow the rules, someone will teach him a lesson. These words were meant to remind He Shu that the reincarnation spacetime could not be humiliated, and Xiao Zun could not be humiliated either. Xia Wu was waiting at the front, and when he saw the two approaching, he hurried forward. Xiao Qingfeng laughed. You're an obedient dog. He Shu replied, I wanted to give up on him, but after thinking about it, I decided to keep him around. Xiao Qingfeng nodded. Suddenly, the two of them felt their hearts palpitate as they looked in a certain direction. A white beam of energy shot towards them. Who's there? He Shu barked. He raised his hand as well, and the white energy flowed out of his palm. Beside him, Xiao Qingfeng also used the white energy. Both of them could use the power of the white energy source, which was the power of a half-progenitor. This was the advantage of a spacetime warp. Even if one's own cultivation was far from reaching this level, they could still borrow this power. The three streams of white energy collided. He Shu was the first to be defeated. After all, his cultivation was not high enough, so he could only barely use the white energy once. Xiao Qingfeng's expression turned ugly. Although he could use it continuously, his opponent was clearly an expert and he definitely would not be able to win in a battle of attrition. Let's leave quickly. This person isn't someone we can deal with, Xiao Qingfeng said. He chose to tear through the void and return to the reincarnation spacetime. He Shu also tore through the void and escaped. People like them were protected. They had many tricks up their sleeves. Just as they thought that they would definitely be able to escape, a card appeared between the two of them, creating a vortex that tried to drag them in. He Shu was shocked. The Lost Clan. The pulling force was very strong and more importantly, it had appeared so suddenly that they could not sense it at all. It was too late for them to escape even if they wanted to. At that moment, Xia Wu grabbed He Shu, and a grade 4 lotus bloomed on the surface of his body. He tore through the void and disappeared with He Shu while Xiao Qingfeng was sucked into the card. In the Zio realm, Yufeng and Yulele watched on. The person who had attacked was naturally Lu Yin. He had used Xia Wu to determine He Shu and Xiao Qingfeng's location at all times. As for Xia Wu taking He Shu away, that was naturally Lu Yin's order. Killing He Shu was worthless, but Xiao Qingfeng was different. He was the disciple of divine sovereign Shaoyin, who was the one who had suggested that the Lu family bear the responsibility for the sins of the above heaven sect. As for obtaining the Yu family's trust and killing Xiao Qingfeng, Lu Yin did not believe that Yufeng would not trust him. His weakness was not He Ran, but rather divine sovereign Shaoyin. Lu Yin was also gambling that the Yu family would cooperate with him. He had to cooperate with the Yu family in order to have a chance of plotting against the spacetime warp. Otherwise, he would not be able to do anything in the spacetime warp. He would not even be able to use possession and he would not even be able to catch a spy. The spacetime warp was not something that the three sovereigns could compare to. Furthermore, Yufeng was not afraid of divine sovereign Shaoyin. Lu Yin did not know what Yufeng wanted, but he could guess that it was related to the ruler of the spacetime warp. Someone like Yufeng would not give up on cooperating just because of divine sovereign Shaoyin. It's a pity that He Shu escaped, Yulele commented. Yu Fang's eyes flickered. He Shu escaped. He won't be able to convince me no matter what he says. Without Xianxia, some things will be difficult to do. Let's wait and see. If we can't cooperate, we can still use him. They did not think that Lu Yin would kill Shao Qingfeng. Shao Qingfeng had divine sovereign Xiaoyin behind him, and from what they knew, this placed too much pressure on Lu Yin. There was no need to offend divine sovereign Xiaoyin just to gain the Yu family's trust, and it was even more impossible to give this weakness to the Yu family. In outer space, a card floated in the air. It was the 7-star Hidden Mountain card. Under Yu Fang's watch, he could only use the power of the Hexagon Association. As for the card, it could not be seen from its appearance. Otherwise, if someone could recognize it, they would naturally be able to confirm that it was Lu Yin who had done it. Shao Qingfeng was sucked into the card and a heavy mountain pressed down. Yu Fang waved a hand, causing a white energy to wreak havoc and shatter the mountain peak. Although the 7-star Hidden Mountain card was powerful, it was still an ancient card and could only trap envoys at most. Shao Qingfeng's white energy had already reached the destructive power of a half-ancestor, and the Hidden Mountain card could not trap him. At that moment Lu Yin entered. Now that he was here, there was no longer any need for him to disguise himself. He raised a hand and struck out. Shao Qingfeng used the white energy to attack. The destructive power of a half-ancestor was the strongest power that he could display, but it collapsed under Lu Yin's palm. The wind from the palm swept past and pressed Shao Qingfeng into the ground. Shao Qingfeng spat out a mouthful of blood and the surface of his body cracked. He looked up in shock. An extreme powerhouse? Only an extreme powerhouse could heavily injure Shao Qingfeng while he was trapped by the white energy. Lu Yin took a step forward and appeared in front of Shao Qingfeng. He looked at the man who was half kneeling on the ground, his golden robes in tatters. It's been a long time, Shao Qingfeng. Shao Qingfeng's eyes flickered as he stared at Lu Yin. He coughed up another mouthful of blood and tried to activate his power, but the astral energy vortex within his body had been scattered, and the white energy was completely ineffective. It's you? Xianxia, where did you get this power from? Were you hiding your cultivation? Lu Yin's lips curled up. Let's see who I am again. He then returned to his original appearance. Chapter 2673. Shao Qingfeng watched as Lu Yin's appearance changed, and his expression changed as well. He was shocked as if he had just seen something unbelievable. Lu Yin. You're that Lu Yin from the primordial space? Lu Yin smiled. That's why I said long time no see. Shao Qingfeng was shocked. Xianxia is also you. How did you hide from ultra spacetime in the void god spacetime? That's impossible. So many powerhouses have seen you, so there's no way they couldn't tell. Lu Yin replied, that's the difference between you and me. Now you can die knowing why. Wait, why did you kill me? I didn't offend you. Shao Qingfeng's lips were bleeding, and he suddenly took out a power vessel to try and break free from the card. However, all his attempts were futile in front of Lu Yin. Lu Yin shattered the power vessel and pressed a hand against Shao Qingfeng's head. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being so arrogant. Who was the one who said that the primordial space would be conquered sooner or later after offending the reincarnation spacetime? You wanted to use the people around me as an appetizer and watch the people closest to you be auctioned off and turned into demi-humans? Do you have the ability to do so? This was what Shao Qingfeng had said when everyone from the Hexway training grounds had gathered before heading to the primordial space. He had been high and mighty at the time, looking down on everyone and wanting to trample on Lu Yin. Now, however, he had become like this. Shao Qingfeng suddenly remembered. Right, he had mentioned it before. He remembered that he had even asked Xianxia what he thought. He had looked up and met Lu Yin's eyes. Back then, Lu Yin had smiled very happily and had even said, sure. At that time Shao Qingfeng had truly been happy. And that master of yours, I'll have him look for you. Lu Yin then exerted more force and Shao Qingfeng slowly knelt down before finally lying down. Even as he died, his mind was filled with Lu Yin's smile. Why hadn't he seen it back then? Lu Yin arrived at the Zio realm. Yu Fang's expression was cold. Yu Lele looked at him curiously, waiting to see what he would say. He Shu had not been killed and this person would not be able to win their trust no matter what. Lu Yin walked forward and casually tossed Shao Qingfeng's corpse aside. Sorry, he Shu escaped. I didn't expect him to have Lian Bao, but this Shao Qingfeng didn't escape. Let's see if I can kill him along the way. Yu Fang and Yu Lei were shocked and they stared at Xiao Qingfeng's corpse. You killed Xiao Qingfeng? Yu Lu exclaimed. Yu Fang was shocked and he looked deeply at Lu Yin. Lu Yin shrugged. Don't look at me like that. I didn't do it on purpose. Who told him to recognize the hidden mountain card? I was hoping to kill He Shu in one blow, so I used the 7-star hidden mountain card that I obtained from the Hexagon training hall. Unfortunately, He Shu ran away and this Xiao Qingfeng entered the hidden mountain card and immediately recognized it. Yu Fang nodded. I see. Yu Lei also understood. No wonder they didn't believe that Xianxia would intentionally kill Xiao Qingfeng. It was too crazy. The Yu family could ignore Xiao Qingfeng, but what right did Xianxia have? He had just offended Lotus Lord's disciple. If he killed Xiao Qingfeng now, wouldn't he be going against reincarnation time and space? Even Su Wei could not protect him. What do you think? Is this price credible? Lu Yin asked. Yu Fang laughed. This is more believable than killing He Shu. It's possible that He Ran has abandoned He Shu to plot against the bigger picture, but even He Ran wouldn't dare to touch Xiao Qingfeng. Lu Yin felt a headache coming on. I wouldn't have dared to touch him if it wasn't absolutely necessary, but since I've already done so, then so be it. Yu Fang personally inspected Xiao Qingfeng's corpse and then disposed of it. From now on we're considered to be working together. Right, we're still missing one person. He clapped his hands and a figure walked out of the void. It was He Ran's Bai Qian. Lu Yin was not surprised by Bai Qian's arrival. He had been keeping Bai Qian in check, but Bai Qian himself had to come. Lu Yin watched as Bai Qian slowly walked over, and Bai Qian's gaze landed on him as well. Everyone in the hyperspace dimension believed that these two were not on good terms, especially when Lu Yin had brought people to surround the Tuk family, which was a slap to Bai Qian's face. Even Yu Fang felt the same way. Now that Bai Qian had arrived, his attitude was freezing. Bai Qian walked over to Yu Fang's side, and at this moment, the four of them stood in the hyperspace dimension's territory. Screens of light surrounded them, and it was as if they were the rulers of the hyperspace dimension. Yu Fang smiled. Bai Qian, the Yu family and Xianxia will fully support you in dealing with He Ran from now on. All past grievances will be cleared. Do you have any objections? Bai Qian's eyes flashed as he stared at Lu Yin. No. Yu Fang looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin smiled. Actually, I helped He Ran in the beginning mainly because I thought that Zijing was in her hands. Bai Qian was cold. You think too highly of He Ran. Lu Yin retorted, it's your own fault. You don't understand, Bai Qian replied. Lu Yin sneered, then tell me what I don't understand. Enough, Yu Fang interrupted, glancing at Lu Yin before looking at Bai Qian solemnly. I don't care what dissatisfaction you have with Xianxia, but he's supporting you now. There are many things that can't be done without him. If you want to defeat He Ran, you'll need his help, or you can choose another option. Compared to Bai Qian, Yu Fang naturally valued Lu Yin more. In his opinion, Bai Qian was just a puppet to defeat He Ran. It could be Black Qian or Blue Qian, but it didn't matter who it was. If not for He Ran's deep roots and the fact that she had nurtured a powerhouse like Uncle Amo, Yu Fang wouldn't have needed to make a move against her. Bai Qian was indifferent. I don't trust him. He doesn't need your trust, Yu Fang said sternly. My Yu family trusts him and that's enough. Bai Qian and Yu Fang looked at each other. Yu Fang's gaze was equally cold. Lu Yin clasped his hands behind his back. He had to admit that Bai Qian was smart and good at acting. No, she wasn't acting at all. She had a naturally cold face and didn't need to act. In the end, Bai Qian gave in and softened her tone. I understand. Yu Fang looked deeply at Bai Qian. We can help you defeat He Ran, and that's the best thing we can do for you. You don't need to worry about anything else, just do your best. Otherwise, you would have been eliminated long ago. Will anyone support your decisions? There's something wrong with that Tuku, he's He Ran's man. Bai Qian was shocked, but before she could speak, Lu Yin was shocked. What Tuku really is He Ran's man? Yu Lei was amused. Did you think we were joking? If we weren't sure, we wouldn't have said that Tuku was problematic. We can tell you now that Tuku is He Ran's man. Bai Qian's expression turned ugly. Evidence. Yu Fang said, no need. If my Yu family says he's He Ran's man, then he's He Ran's man. You should believe me. Lu Yin was annoyed. I want evidence. Otherwise, won't I be fooled like a clown? I thought we were helping He Ran, but we're actually targeting her. They're probably going to die of laughter. Ulele rolled his eyes. They won't be able to laugh even if you beat them to death. You've ruined He Ran's plan. Although we don't know what the plan is, don't you think there's something wrong with Tuku inviting Bai Qian to his home? Bai Qian replied, there's a problem. He's never invited me and we've always discussed things elsewhere. Yu Fang said, Xianxia, you've unintentionally ruined He Ran's plan. If you don't cooperate with us, you won't have a good ending. He paused. More accurately, it's in the transcendence. Of course, it won't affect your position in the void god spacetime. Lu Yin smiled bitterly. That's a wise choice. After that, Yu Fang explained the situation in the transcendence to Bai Qian and Lu Yin as they discussed how to deal with He Ran. In the outside world, Shao Qingfeng's death had shaken the Six Direction Society. After He Shu was taken to the Six Direction Training Hall by Lian Bao, he immediately returned to the transcendence to ask for help. However, by the time they arrived at the location of the attack, there were no traces of the attackers and Shao Qingfeng was nowhere to be found. Countless people in the Six Direction Society looked towards the transcendence. He Ran immediately ordered the transcendence to search for Shao Qingfeng's whereabouts. Shao Qingfeng was Divinity Shaoyin's disciple and nothing could happen to him. Otherwise, Divinity Shaoyin would not let this matter go. He Shu's face paled and He Ran clenched her fists in front of him. Nothing had gone smoothly during this period of time, and just as they were about to start another plan, something had happened to Shao Qingfeng. Could this be related to the Yu family? The Yu family had publicly supported Bai Qian, so they would naturally help her. However, aside from them, no one else knew about this plan. Unless Tuku betrayed them, but that was impossible. Besides, would the Yu family really kill Shao Qingfeng? It was meaningless. Suddenly, Uncle Imo walked out and looked up in shock. Sir, there's an extremely strong powerhouse. He Ran and He Shu both looked up. The space above the staircase they were on cracked open, and an unparalleled pressure crashed down on them. In an instant, the three felt the world spin, and Uncle Imo hurriedly used a black energy source to block He Ran's path. He Shu was crushed to the ground and fainted. He Ran half knelt on the ground, her entire body trembling. Uncle Mo's skin cracked, and his eyes widened as he stared in disbelief at the domineering figure above. He had never felt this kind of pressure before. He had clearly used a black energy source and could fight against many extremely strong powerhouses, but in front of this person he was as tiny as an ant. This person was Divinity Shaoyin. Divinity Shaoyin. A grand voice rang out from outside the staircase. At that moment the pressure disappeared, but He Ran and Uncle Imo had both fainted. Up above, Divinity Shaoyin looked up. There was nothing, but he could see that there was something else in that space. I need an explanation. The grand voice rang out again. Cultivators fight against the heavens for their lives, and we humans fight against the Eternals for our lives. There is no need for an explanation as long as it was not done by transcendence. Divinity Shaoyin frowned. How can you be sure that it wasn't done by transcendence? What's the point? Divinity Shaoyin pondered. If you want to use this to cause trouble in transcendence, I will find Grand Empyrean to judge. Divinity Shaoyin snorted. Don't use my master to scare me. My disciple died here, so you are responsible. Since that is the case, your people will no longer need to step into transcendence. Transcendence cannot protect them. Divinity Shaoyin was furious. Are you going against me? It is you who is going against transcendence. After a moment of silence, Divinity Shaoyin said coldly, no matter what, my disciple died here. If I don't do anything, others will think that I am easy to bully. What do you want? I hope you will support my suggestion, Divinity Shaoyin said. Thank you. Yunfei 1985. Be obedient. Surrounding stars, just say what you want. Brother, I will give you a reward. Thank you. Chapter 2674. The grand voice did not speak immediately. Instead, it waited for a while before asking, you want the primordial space to become one of the endless battlefields? Shouldn't we? They defeated the Eternals, yet they want to protect themselves and make the Six Direction Association bear the pressure of the Eternals. What a joke. If it weren't for us, how could they have exiled the Lu family? Where did the Four Direction Scales come from? Divine Sovereign Shaoyin said disdainfully. I heard that the one who didn't want to fight the Eternals was the son of the Lu family, Divine Sovereign Shaoyin said. That's just an excuse. If they could, why would the Four Direction Scales be willing to let the origin space reignite? They just used the son of the Lu family to refuse. The Yuan sage already told me that the four direction scales and the son of the Lu family should maintain a so-called balance, but the six direction association has to bear the pressure of the Eternals. What a joke. Since when did they have the right to make decisions? They want the origin space to become one of the endless battlefields and even the main battlefield against the Eternals. Alright, I can agree. Divine Sovereign Xiaoyin was satisfied. Good. My disciple's death won't implicate anyone in the hyperspace dimension, but the murderer must be found. It's not easy for you to come out. Go back, I won't do anything to them. After a while, Uncle Mo woke up. He looked up and saw a man in a golden robe with his back facing them. It was Divine Sovereign Xiaoyin. Uncle Mo's expression changed as he hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Senior Divine Sovereign. Wake them up, Divine Sovereign Xiaoyin said calmly. Uncle Mo hurriedly woke He Ran and He Shu up. He Ran opened her eyes and saw Divine Sovereign Xiaoyin. Her eyes were filled with fear. This person could have killed her. In the hyperspace dimension she had experienced the danger of her life for the first time. She had fallen from her lofty position to the mortal world in an instant. Only then did she realize that she could die even in the hyperspace dimension. Divine Sovereign Xiaoyin turned around and faced He Ran. How did Qingfeng die? He Ran's face was pale. I'm investigating. Divine Sovereign Xiaoyin frowned and looked at He Shu. He Shu bowed respectfully and explained what had happened. If Xia Wu hadn't brought Lian Bao and brought us to the Six Direction Training Hall, I would have been sucked in by the Lost Clan's card. Divine Sovereign Xiaoyin was stunned. Lost Clan's Lost Clan? That might not be the case. In fact, after so many years many people had the Lost Clan card and it was simply too useful. Before the Six Direction Training Hall was established, many people had already collected it. Just one Lost Clan card alone could not prove anything. The White Energy Source and the Lost Clan card were powers that everyone knew about. Based on this, it was impossible to tell who had done it. The attacker's actions were clean and efficient. Reverend God Xiaoyin checked the location of the attack, but there were no clues. He knew that He Shu and the others' plan was to target the Yu clan. However, even if the Yu clan wanted to ruin the plan, they would only kill He Shu and Tu Ku. It wouldn't have much to do with Xiao Qingfeng. They had already lured a Lord Luo over, so they shouldn't attract Divinity Xiaoyin as well. Xiao Qingfeng's death had already brought him benefits. As for who the murderer was, he would continue to investigate. However, it was not important. He did not care about Xiao Qingfeng's death at all. Although Divinity Xiaoyin didn't care, He Ran cared. She had almost been scared to death by Divinity Xiaoyin. How could she let go of this grudge? He Ran began to investigate with her influence, and for a time transdimensional became noisy. Yu Fang, Lu Yin and Bai Qian's cooperation had been confirmed. The first thing Yu Fang wanted to know was what kind of cultivation technique Zijing was researching. The research of cultivation techniques had always been kept secret, and even if the Yu clan tried their best to investigate, they couldn't find anything. If he didn't even know what cultivation technique the other party was researching, how could he deal with them? This was what Yu Fang had told Lu Yin. It was this sentence that made Lu Yin certain that Yu Fang wasn't targeting He Ran, but rather that ruler. Zijing's research had already been handed over to that ruler, so how could He Ran lead the research on sequence particles? Since that was the case, Yu Fang's intentions couldn't be any more obvious. He wasn't afraid of telling Lu Yin. After all, Lu Yin had killed Xiao Qingfeng and Yu Fang had evidence that could be used against him. Lu Yin wanted Yu Fang to believe this so that they could truly cooperate. After all, Yu Fang's target was that ruler as well. If you want to know what cultivation technique they're researching, you'll have to go to the place where Zijing was, Lu Yin said to Yu Fang. Yu Fang frowned. There's a super analysis mode there that even extreme powerhouses can't enter. I can turn off that mode, but that's the same as telling He Ran that I did it. I hope that you can find out through Zijing. Didn't she tell you? Lu Yin shook his head. There's always someone watching our meetings. The only time we met was at the Hexagon Training Hall, and it was Senior Yu Ting who brought her there. You can ask Senior Yu Ting if he heard anything about her cultivation technique. How could he tell Yu Fang that he knew about the research on sequence particles? He still needed the Yu clan's help. Yu Fang was helpless. He knew Yu Ting too well, and he knew that Yu Ting wouldn't eavesdrop. However, since Xianxia had said so, it was likely that she hadn't mentioned anything about cultivation techniques. I'll create an opportunity for you to perform meritorious deeds in front of He Ran. Think of a way to meet Zijing again. Lu Yin replied, it's useless. Uncle Imo was watching her the last time we met. Yu Feng fell into deep thought. Lu Yin said, I have a way to enter that place. Yu Feng was confused. What way? There's a group of cultivators in the drift cloud space that's been trying to save Lu Yun. Do you know about them? Yu Feng asked. Yu Feng replied, I do. Those people are being monitored by the super analysis mode, and their every move can't escape surveillance. Lu Yin continued, I can use them to rush into that place. In any case, hyperspace already knows that they're behind this and they'll just let them rush in. No one will know even if I sneak in, and I'll destroy the super analysis mode as soon as I enter. Even if they find out that someone else has entered, they'll just think that it's a spy. They won't be able to guess that it's me, and there's no evidence that points to the Yu clan either. Yu Feng's eyes lit up. How do you plan on using them? They're not stupid. Lu Yin looked up. Send me to the drift cloud space. Lu Yin's first stop after entering the Hexagon Association was the hyperspace, and his second stop was the drift cloud space. After entering the hyperspace, he was brought to the drift cloud space after Zijing agreed to his research. There he saw the carrier for the art of gift and was shocked by the power of hyperspace's cultivation technique. He also saw the cruel side of hyperspace. He had met a woman from the drift cloud space in the art of gift, and through her he had learned about what hyperspace had done to the drift cloud space. At this moment he had come to the drift cloud space to find this woman. How could he allow the cultivators of the drift cloud space to enter his research area? Only someone from the drift cloud space could do such a thing. Before coming here he had asked Yu Feng to investigate the cultivators of the drift cloud space who had fought in the art of gift. Fortunately that woman was still alive. The cultivators of the drift cloud space were always at the forefront, and it was normal for them to die. It was already rare for her to be able to last for a few years, and it should be related to her innate gift. The black beam of light tore through the void, and the water-like power was stirred up to turn the heavens and the earth upside down, reflecting a batch of the flowing cloud space. The cultivators fell into despair and died. With the help of the Yu family, Lu Yin boarded the art of gift and arrived at the cultivators area of the drift cloud space. Here, although there were many cultivators in the drifting cloud space, they were all silent. No one spoke and the atmosphere was shrouded in despair. People kept dying here and people kept coming to take their places. Day after day passed. Not long after, the battle slowed down and a group of cultivators from the drift cloud space returned. Most of them were injured. Lu Yin saw the woman. Compared to their first meeting, she had become much stronger, and the coldness in her eyes had also increased. She was sitting alone in a corner, lost in thought. Why didn't you help them? Lu Yin asked as he sat down beside her. The woman was startled and subconsciously retreated as she stared at Lu Yin warily. The people around them acted as if they did not see Lu Yin, and they all sat there silently. The woman stared at Lu Yin in a daze. It's you. Lu Yin smiled at her. Long time no see. The woman was stunned. Why are you here? I'm here to look for you. Find me. She did not understand. Lu Yin raised a hand and instantly pressed down on her shoulder. The woman was clearly an enlighter, but she could not resist at all. She watched as the void was torn apart, and she was taken away by Lu Yin to Ionian Kingdom. He released her hand and she continuously retreated as she stared at Lu Yin in fear. Her entire body was cold and motes of light were swimming around her. Have you forgotten the first time we met? Lu Yin teased. The woman was stunned and the motes of light dissipated. Right, it was useless for her to attack him as she was not his opponent at all. Who are you? Why are you looking for me? Lu Yin replied, to cooperate with you. Cooperate? The woman was confused. Lu Yin clasped his hands behind his back and calmly explained, there's a forbidden area in the hyperspace. Due to a mistake in the mining of resources, no living beings can survive there. It's truly a land of death. However, there's a research base there and I want to enter that base to look for something. What does that have to do with me? The woman was even more confused now. Lu Yin smiled. I can't enter by myself. I accidentally learned that there's a group of cultivators from the drifting cloud space hiding in the hyperspace. Every once in a while they'll charge into that forbidden area. Their goal is to save drifting cloud. The woman's pupils shrank and she stepped forward to stare at Lu Yin. Lord Drifting Cloud? Lu Yin nodded. That's what they call him. Lord Drifting Cloud should be an extremely strong powerhouse who's been imprisoned in the hyperspace. Unfortunately, they've never succeeded. The woman was excited. Lord Drifting Cloud is imprisoned there? Is that true? If you don't believe me, I can take you to that group of people from the Drifting Cloud space. They've failed every time, but more cultivators from the Drifting Cloud space have joined them. I'm sure you know about this since the cultivators who joined the Drifting Cloud space come from the Drifting Cloud space. The woman did not reply as she did not know whether Lu Yin was telling the truth or not. Before arriving at the carrier of the Art of Gift, the cultivators from the Drifting Cloud space had indeed been divided into two groups. One group obeyed the orders of the hyperspace while the other went into hiding to enter the hyperspace to save Lord Drifting Cloud. Powerhouses from the Drifting Cloud space could freely enter and exit the hyperspace. This was a top secret. She could have gone to the hyperspace as well, but because she wanted to protect her family, she could only hide her innate gift and come to the carrier of the Art of Gift. However, her family had all died and she could not save them.